Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another long form book review. Oh, a little bit annoyed about something, right? A little bit peeved, yeah? Because I found out about this book and I was like, hell yeah. No one else has covered this memoir about an open marriage called More by Molly Winter. No one else has covered this. With Cindy did cover this several weeks ago. In fact, I watched like 20 seconds of her video. No, that's not right. I watched like 2 minutes of her video because I don't like other people's opinions to influence, mine too much. I might incorporate and repeat what I've heard, yeah? Echolalia, sorry, has that term been used in a TV show or something recently? Because have you not noticed how many people are talking about echolalia recently? Who mentioned it? What famous TV show? Because why is everyone talking about it? You're all so predictable. Why am I fighting? I just did my Black Mirror video. So I'm in a fighting mood. I just fought Charlie Brooker at WrestleMania 42 and won. And I'm ready to fight Molly and her horrible husband Stu. Anyway, yeah, I watched a bit of With Cindy's video. And just so I knew that I was on the right track with regards to this person's husband, and oh boy, I am. So More, it's a memoir about an open marriage. Do I have to say the perfunctory? For some people it can work, for some people it can't. You need open trust and communication. Do I have to say that? No, I'm not going to spoon feed you guys because you're my audience members and you're all frightfully intelligent just like me. Why did I laugh like that? Such brain rot. Me being like, I'm so smart, and then just having like the biggest brain rot jumble out my gob. Anyway, just get on with it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. My good friend Peter recently completed a half marathon to raise awareness for breast cancer. So if you would like to go donate to that, really want to try and get the donation amount to over £1,000, then that would be amazing. Should we just get on with this video? Shall we just do it? Right. No, I'll give a bit of precursor. So it's about Molly and Stuart. Yeah, they're in a monogamous marriage. Well, I mean, it's not the most monogamous of marriages because they do have a threesome earlier in their marriage and whatever. Anyway, they turn it into an open one. And the way that the reviewers like New York Times or whoever are going on about, oh, it's so witty and it's so candid. It is pretty candid. Not sure about the wittiness though. Oh, it's this, it's that. It's like groundbreaking essentially. They aren't seeing what me, With Cindy, a bunch of Redditors on like the book subreddit, a bunch of the good reviews are seeing. This guy, oh my god, the amount of red flags, it's like a communist parade. So, prologue. We open with Molly, the mother, getting worried texts from Daniel, her teenage son, asking whether she and her husband are in an open marriage. The phone doesn't ring before Stu picks up. Shortening Stuart to Stu is kind of diabolical. It's subtle symbolism pointing to the Stu that is their relationship. Daniel had seen his father's OkCupid profile on his laptop stating he was in an open marriage. Wait, you do it too? I hold my breath. Daniel has seen Stuart's dating profile, but he hasn't seen mine. I realised too late that I misread the anxiety in his text in his newly minted man voice. He thought his father was cheating on me. This call was meant to warn me, to protect his innocent mother from a betrayal measured in adolescent abstractions. Good on him, to be honest. Like, that's a real girl's girl, but boy's girl, girl's boy. But thinking your dad is committing adultery is worse than knowing your mother sleeps with other men, right? In this moment, I can't be sure. My brain floods with the myriad ways in which awareness of his mother's sexuality might damage a boy forever. Credit where credit is due. This passage was written better than any coho we've seen today. I've got my cordial, got some poppadoms. Probably shouldn't point this out, but my face is a completely different colour to normal because my foundations light my ass. Yeah, right. They're too dark. But I kind of think it's working for me. Maybe I should get a tan after all. Strong like me. Part 1, Chapter 1. Molly, the author, is with Matt, who has a girlfriend. One of us, maybe both of us, says we shouldn't do this. I know why Matt shouldn't. He's cheating on his girlfriend. But why shouldn't I? Well, for one, he has a girlfriend. Molly is married to Stuart at this point, but she snogs Matt and then leaves. It's been almost 2 years since I first saw Matt, but I can hardly remember the before times when I wasn't caught in a constant swirl of secret lust and mother's guilt. The day I meet him is like any other. That morning, Stuart tells me he'll be home early. That is, early enough to find me awake, but not early enough to help put the kids to bed. Now it's 8:47 p.m. On what planet is this considered early? Now it's 8:47 p.m. On what planet is this considered early? I hear Stu's keys in the door and my body tenses. I won't give him a hello. My mouth won't do it. I need to get out, I say. I barely look at him for fear I'll scream, strike him, or worse. Where are you going? He asks, perplexed. To him, early nights mean ordering dinner, watching TV together, hopefully sex. For a walk. I grab my jacket and keys. I want to check on the house. I'm through the door before he closes it. What a diva. So she leaves, bumps into a friend, goes out to a bar with her, meets Matt, friend of a friend, and flirts with him all evening, swapping numbers at the end. She goes home and finds Stuart has not bothered cleaning up after the kids. Matt texts Molly and Stuart is into it. Baby, I'm glad you're enjoying this, but it's not going to happen. I disagree, he says as I climb into bed. It'll happen if you want it to happen, so I've decided. Decided what? You can go out with him again, as long as you tell me everything. He pulls me toward him, making me the little spoon, and kisses me on the back of my head. That was quick. She remembers talking body counts with Stuart, hers being 4, his being dozens. How? No idea. Just wait, he'd said. He'd looked so much like my celebrity crush, the tennis player Andre Agassi, with that round, bold head and brown eyes, doe-like but naughty. 10 years from now, you're going to see some guy and you'll wonder what it'll be like to shag him. And it's okay with me. You just have to tell me about it. And here we are, 10 years later. Well, this book has given me a newfound appreciation for Andre Agassi. Chapter 2. She thinks about Matt, touches herself over him, and then meets up with him for a drink. As I take a long swig, my phone buzzes. A text from Stu. Have fun tonight, baby. I'll be thinking about you. Something about his message infuriates me. Does he think this is all for him? Of course he does. He's a bloke. I remember encountering a line from Kate Chopin's Chopin? Or is it like shopping? Is it like shop? Do you know what? Leave me alone. The Awakening. Back when I rode the subway alone on my way to work and had time to read. Edna, the heroine, says this. I would give my life for my children, but I wouldn't give myself. I was confused by the distinction, but now that I have kids, it makes more sense. Still, one quandary remains. Who is myself if not a mother and a wife? I honestly don't know. Perhaps it's time to find out. I know this is common, mainly for women, but I can't imagine not knowing myself outside of being related to a partner and kids. Ew. This might be more empowering if her way of finding out wasn't through her relationship to another man. I walk towards him as he stands up. I'd forgotten how tall he is. Stuart always accuses me of having a type, tall and slim with a full head of hair. Just picture the opposite of me, and that's what you're into, he'd said more than once. I firmly believe in sticking to what you're physically attracted to be honest, because don't kid yourself. Then you wouldn't need to do this. Anyway, on her date with Matt, it's revealed he has a girlfriend that he lives with. Dun dun dun. So she leaves the date with nothing happening. Chapter 3. I'm thinking about Matt less and less. For the first few months after my failed date when Stu and I have sex, he tries to keep up the fantasy of Matt alive. Talking about Matt feeds Stuart's libido. When he tells me to imagine what Matt's penis looks like, how his mouth would feel on my meow, Stu gets rougher than I want him to be. Once he calls... Though this comes up again, and I forgot. Once he calls me see you next Tuesday during sex and I start to cry. Are you mad at me? I blubber. Oh baby, no, Stuart says, holding me as I sniffle into his chest. I don't mean it in a bad way. I like imagining you with other men. It's part of what turns me on. It's just that if I don't figure out how to release some tension, I'll end up finishing. But what works for Stuart doesn't work for me. It's not Matt's penis I want. Not really. It's his attention. I want to imagine Matt making dinner for me. How Matt might gaze at me the first time I stand naked before him. But those things feel outside the purview of Stuart's fantasy and therefore out of bounds. I was screaming internally at this because he's not her type, doesn't even seem to be that sexually compatible with her either. Women, stop marrying men you don't really like. She gets an email about a friend's birthday a year later. I click the link with my heart racing and scan the list of invitees. There he is, at the very bottom. Matthew Wolfe. It must be him. And of course, he has a sexy last name. Okay, furry. She goes to karaoke and sees Matt. As I enter Kayla's party room, the lyrics become distinct. The only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher. Just makes me think of Jan from The Office singing it to her newborn baby. Anyway, she and Matt get a private karaoke room together to sing Islands in the Stream. Oh, like that scene from Gavin and Stacey. Wow, The Office and Gavin and Stacey. In what crossover episode is this? So anyway, she sings, and then she runs away from him again and goes home. She still tells Stuart about Matt, and Stuart gets turned on. And why am I reading this? Just write a diary, babe. Flip me, I say, for perhaps the first time in our married life. First time, all marriage, you've said that. Yikes. Maybe marry your type next time, babe. She confides in her friend Jess about her marriage woes and horny husband. My throat starts to close. The part of my brain that has governed my life thus far agrees with her. What's happening with Matt feels very dangerous. This is why I'm telling Jessie about it, I realise. I'm hoping she'll convince me that this feeling is worth the danger. That once in a while, it's important to do the dangerous thing. If you want real danger, why don't you try being a war correspondent? That'll get your blood flowing. New kink unlocked. Digesting the cold calamity of war. Can we kink shame that? Her friend tells her to see a therapist. This is how I know I'm not reading a Coho novel. So she starts seeing a therapist, trying to get permission to sleep with Matt. My obsession with Matt isn't about him. It's about me, not World War me. She takes control and arranges to see Matt for a drink. Suddenly, the day stretching before me doesn't seem too bleak. Lady, I'm just not sure the everyday humdrum of marriage and motherhood is for you. I can't speak for whether that gets boring, but life in general is a bit boring. It really is. I am bored to tears every single day. There are ways for it to not be boring that don't include shagging around your marriage vows. Have you tried bouldering instead? And before you come out with me with the pitchforks, like, well, some people can do polyamory. These people can't. That's why I'm being hard on them. Just wait, we'll get there. These people can't. It isn't until I've cleared the plates and I'm standing at the sink that Stuart creeps up behind me, grabs me round the middle and kisses my ear. Ready for your big date, he whispers. Creeps is the Freudian verb slip here. I'm sure Stuart can feel my quickened pulse. He lives with his girlfriend, remember? I know. He moves his kisses down the side of my neck. Can you feel how turned on I am? He pushes his hardness against my backside. Yes, I say, but I want to step away. I want to think about Matt, not Stuart. The reminder of Stuart's pleasure feels like an intrusion. What will this mean for you, Molly? This is about my desire, not Stuart's. I'm not sure she actually likes her husband, and from what access I've been granted, I don't even blame her. If I had to rate their marriage with an emoji, it would be the one with all the teeth showing in an awkward grimace. At this point in the story, I do feel bad for her. Women are told if they don't go down the marriage and kids route, they will suffer, they will feel unfulfilled. Who's going to look after you when you're old? Probably the people who work at the old age home. Because go there, trust me. Some of the loneliest people there have kids who don't see them. So anyway, women, they follow this path, and for a lot of people, it is what they want. It is, genuinely. But others find that it's not really everything they wanted or everything that they thought it would be. Plus, most women tend to, if they're not careful, lose their identities when they become mothers. Some women like just being mothers, and that's fine too. I'm all about the choice, yeah? But some women, they start to resent it. She starts to resent it. But whether you choose to marry someone or choose to be child-free or choose to be single, you have to proactively work at keeping fulfillment. Admittedly, that is harder when you've got kids and need to spend most of your day running around making sure they don't accidentally kill themselves. She meets up with Matt and they head back to his, they kiss. Stuart gives his blessing for Molly to return and shag Matt. And although I've received Stu's blessing, even his encouragement, I'm not doing this for my husband. I'm not doing this to keep the excitement in our marriage alive. I'm racing back to another man's apartment because it is what I want. I'm climbing his stairs and ringing the bell and unbuttoning my soaking wet dress before he even answered the door because I want him. Cheaters use that same logic, babe. It's hardly revolutionary. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not arguing for some nonsensical sanctity of marriage, because a lot of people got annoyed about this and they were conservative. I'm clearly not conservative. I don't care about the sanctity of marriage. I don't care about the nuclear family. Piss off. I'm arguing that most people just shouldn't get married in the first place. It's meant to be a lifelong commitment, but people don't seem to realize that your life is the longest thing you will ever experience, and the chances that you've met someone you will stick with through thick and thin, sickness and health forever is silly. It's work. You have to work at it. A lot of people don't seem to want to. They just want like the flowers and romance. That's it. Do you know how many people want to get married just to experience their own wedding day? Whatever. She bonks Matt. We don't get to hear much about it, and then goes home. So how was it, my sexy wife? A siren of warning goes off within my depths and I give incomplete information. It was fun, I say. I do not say that all I want is to go back to feel Matt's hands on my body, another man's mouth on my own. I just don't think you're that into your own husband, babe. Chapter 4. Molly is rejuvenated from her bonking and gives us more detail on her night with sexy Matt. I see Stuart's face now, upside down above me, his nose twitching. You smell different, he says. Did you shower when you got home last night? Sorry, I say. It was really late. I didn't think you'd mind. Well, I kinda do, he says and walks away. This guy gives me the ick. Molly cancels therapy. Then Stuart approaches Molly to be like, by the way, I've been talking to my ex-girlfriend and I want to go see her. How do you feel about this? Of course he pushed her towards shagging Matt so he could shag his ex-girlfriend. I hate this dude. Molly, divorce him. We've all been swindled. This book isn't about open relationships. It's about escaping unfulfilling ones. Of all the girlfriends from Stu's past, Lena is one of the select few who broke up with him rather than the other way around. But Stuart remained friends with her. Lena was one of 5 ex-girlfriends who attended our wedding, which has to be some sort of record. Sorry, but why is this creep seemingly shagger of the year with 5 exes attending their wedding? Anyway, Molly then lies that it's fine with her if he shags his ex-girlfriend. For goodness sake, stand up. Also, I'm convinced that he was having affairs way before she shagged Matt anyway. Molly takes her kids to see her parents because her mum is ill, while Stuart sees his ex-girlfriend. Good Lord, woman, when does this bloke ever parent their kids too? I'm actually now way more understanding of her wanting to shag about. Ooh, that's a double standard. Good thing I don't care. Molly recalls a time her aunt told her something about her mother. Anne straightened herself up and took a leisurely swig. And then she had an affair. What? The tables around us seemed to disappear, and a spotlight descended on Anne and her slim cylindrical glass that she brought to her lips again. When? Who was it? Stuart put his hand on my leg. It's not a big deal, baby, he said. Your parents are still married, and they seem to love each other. Of course, Stuart pipes up. This is called seeding. He really picked his moment. So, Mum, Mary, had an affair with her best friend, Jim, who she would do Mahi Carey with and would exchange divine light with. Mahi Carey might be a cult. Anyway, Jim is the only person who made her mother Mary laugh, so, it's fine. One day, Molly asks her mum if her dad knows about the affair, and her mum says it was your father's idea. Where are these women finding all these cucks? When the Tylenol PM kicks in, I fall into fitful dreams in which I go back to our Brooklyn home or meet Stuart at... That's another thing as well. That's not... whatever. That's another thing. These people are really rich. Stuart is maybe a millionaire and they live somewhere called Park Slope in New York or whatever. They're super rich. I don't think it comes up too much in this. Or I saw people on Reddit say that the author was being quite classist about some things in New York. I'm not a New Yorker, so I just wouldn't know that. But yeah, they're rich. Anyway, back to our Brooklyn home or meet Stuart at his office, a restaurant. The scenario keeps changing, only to find that another woman is already there with him, taking my place. What could this possibly mean? Her mother also has some debilitating motor control issues. She wants to tell her mother her own marriage woes and is jealous of the thought of Stuart sleeping with someone else, but doesn't say anything because she's ashamed. She flies home to husband. I follow Stu and the boys to the parking garage, watching his confident walk, his cute butt, his fun, affectionate manner with our sons. Panic swells up within me. My husband is sexy, a great dad, a total catch. How had I forgotten, if you say so, babe? Soon Stuart and I will be alone, and I'll no longer wonder. I'll no longer have a way out of this dread, the hope that maybe they didn't to slump my weight against in relief. Babe, if you don't want your husband sleeping with other people, you can indeed have that dynamic. Well, maybe not with this guy, because this was clearly his motive all along. Another guy, maybe. Stuart did, in fact, sleep with his ex-girlfriend. There was never any doubt about this. He was not interested in his ex's attention or the way she would look at him when he was naked. He just wanted to sleep with the woman who dumped him because men are not complex. My legs gave way. I crumple onto the floor next to the bed. I'm afraid I might vomit. Molly, he begins. I can hardly hear him. I'm at the bottom of the well now. From far away, words and phrases assemble themselves without any sense or connection. She doesn't mean anything to me. You told me it was okay. Why are you reacting like this? She's literally in the sunken place. Get Out, 2017. I personally love it when men go, but she didn't mean anything to me. Like, imagine being the ex or whoever and hearing that. But still, anyway, well, if it's in the actions of my own consequences. She wallows for a bit and then finds her husband. You put the kids to bed, I say. Thank you. This dude ain't shit. But you know, this might be the weirdest character arc I've seen in a while. He had to learn to get his ex into bed before he could put his children in theirs. Samwise Gamgee walking to Mordor in order to ask Rosie the barmaid out was less weird than this. Anyway, Stuart is fuming at her. I don't know how to talk to you about this, he says, looking at his hands. I don't want to feel guilty about doing something you gave me permission to do. He's angry at me, I realise. He is angry at me. My head clouds over and the urge to vomit returns. I don't think I should have told you about Lena, he continues. I'm into hearing about you and Matt, but I know you don't feel the same way about me being with another woman. He's right, of course, but hearing about it is the least of my concerns. The problem is the fact that it's happening at all. I think back to my mother. It was your father's idea. But this is different. Sleeping with Matt was my idea, right? I just know by the end of the book, Molly is going to be all, yeah, and anyway, open marriages are great and everyone should do it. What's that? Don't look over there at me weeping. Just focus on me here now.
Please don't tell anyone how I live.
Stuart is all, Lena won't replace you, but it's nice to be seen as attractive. Oh, poor me. Poor me. Pour me another drink. Molly realises she's not called Stuart sexy in like forever, so I guess this is all her fault. He asks if she wants to stop and she thinks, yes, we have to. I don't want to share my husband. Of course I do. We have to stop. I can't share Stuart. I can't share him with Lena. The woman who wishes she were his wife. The woman who has known him longer than I have. The woman whose children call him Uncle Stu. This feels completely inappropriate, even if Molly was up for it. He's shagging someone who wishes she was with him. Molly could be exaggerating, but for God's sake, I've seen boxes of gerbils with healthier relationship boundaries than these people. Then Molly is all, I don't want to stop seeing Matt though, so they decide to keep going with the open marriage. I love you too, my baby, he answers. I will always love you, but let's try out a new rule for a while. I'm not going to tell you any more about what I'm doing. This sounds disastrous. So anyway, I discovered I could just sweep all my emotional baggage under a mental rug. Chapter 5. Over the next 4 years, I sleep with Matt only a handful of times. When his girlfriend is out of town or when Stuart is at a conference and the kids are at summer camp. The pattern goes something like this. After we have sex, Matt texts me to say he can't do this anymore. He feels too guilty. I cry and mope about, battling migraines more days than not, then bury myself in motherly duties. My children are still young. They need me. This is all for the best, I tell myself. Then after a couple months passed, Matt and I start texting again. Every week or two, then more frequently. Our messages marked by fraudulent chastity as anticipation builds towards an opportunity to see each other. His girlfriend has a work trip, or I will have the house to myself. Most importantly, we never plan to sleep together. This isn't even fun, it's just aggro, why bother? But what about Matt's poor girlfriend? I guess it's fine as long as Molly is enriching her own marriage, which she clearly is if you ignore all of the guilt, crying, migraines, moping, dread, and lethargy. She says she has less frequent migraines when she sees Matt. Babe, make a date with a doctor, not Matt's penis. When I know I'll see Matt soon, I'm more patient with the kids, more eager to have sex with Stuart. Man, maybe I'm the prude, but like, is it not crazy that you need to sleep with someone else to want to sleep with your own husband? Anyway, the night she meets Matt, she gets drunk and hooks up with him, then feels ashamed about it. All of this is wonderfully healthy. Matt's guilt makes sense to me, but my shame is less clear. I've excused away any responsibility for Matt's girlfriend. If he's cheating on her before they're even married, their relationship must be doomed, right? Well, aren't you a tree? What sisterhood? Sorry, that's so fucking stupid. Before they're even married, like marriage would change that. In bed with Stu, however, my shame disappears and Matt belongs to my marriage again, a prop as he always was intended to be. Humans are weird. Sometimes when Stuart does something new, moves his tongue differently, puts my leg over one shoulder in an unfamiliar pose, I freeze. Where did he learn to do that? I wonder. Can't help feeling like their sex life was probably really dull to begin with, but I don't dare ask. I shake my head back and forth to kill the question, like a dog with a rat in its mouth, and will myself into a primal state, my mind free from thought. Then I orgasm more powerfully than I did even in the early days of our marriage. So I guess it's fine. One day when doing laundry, it's a hotel key card, and it's speaking to me in Stuart's voice. I'm not going to tell you any more about what I'm doing, it says. Instead, I'll leave hotel keys in my pocket. I know you do all the laundry. You're sure to find it. This way you can picture us in a hotel room together. If you recall which jeans I wore on which day, you might even be able to figure out the exact night it happened. You'll think back to that text when I told you I was working late. You'll remember that was the night I come home from at 4:30 in the morning and kissed you while you were sleeping, kissed you with the mouth that kissed hers, that had roamed all over her entire body, that had made her moan and cry out. I think about all the years I've spent my nights alone with the kids, the dinners, the bedtimes, the dishes, the loneliness of doing it all by myself because Stu had to work. I check in with my sense of reality. Was he truly at the office all those times? Yes, I believe he was. I don't. After all, he's clearly a bad liar, one who can't manage to cover his tracks now. But another thought is rising within me, despite my efforts to tamp it down. All those nights he could have come home instead. He's blowing off work to be with her now, isn't he? So she gets jealous and resentful because she had to do most of the parenting alone. I mean, considering this is the same guy who needed kudos for putting his own kids to bed, I'm just going to say divorce him, babe. Anyway, she's so mad at finding the hotel keycard that she decides to invite Matt to the family home for the first time. Anyway, I rationalise, Daniel and Nate are upstairs, asleep in their beds, and we're 2 floors away. 2 floors down, so at least 3 floors. In New York City. What does Stuart do for a living again? Not to be sexist, but is this why she won't divorce him? Anyway, she shags Matt in the guest room and then feels guilty to text Stuart that he's a better lover than Matt, but accidentally sends the text to Matt. This is a sitcom. Matt, who this whole time thought Molly was sneaking around behind her husband's back, then gets some sort of moral indignation over finding out Molly has her husband's consent in all of this, and he stomps off. He later texts her saying he's done and goodbye. What a weird hill to die on. He probably just feels guilty that he's the only actual cheater in this dynamic. I've found myself starring in a daytime drama. That's what I said. Molly tells Stuart she wants to close the marriage again because it's too painful. Stuart is obviously less keen and more convinced that she'll go back to it, but instead she decides to go back to therapy. He refuses to go to therapy. She discusses with her therapist her migraines, being ahead of her peers at school by a school grade that is, Stuart, open marriages. The therapist notes that Molly herself hasn't said if she thinks she should be in an open marriage though, and tells her to talk to her mum. Chapter 6. She rings mum to discuss Stuart/her marriage. But when I peel away the gauze that covers my own memory, I see my mother's stiff shoulders. I hear her halting words. I was a virgin when we married. Your father thought an affair would give me confidence. It was a long time ago. What type of confidence? How vague is that? Do you think sleeping with other people will ruin my marriage? Definitely not, my mother says with such certainty that I laugh. She laughs too. Because you and Stuart have the 2 magic ingredients, she says. You talk to each other and you love each other. If you keep doing those 2 things, opening yourself up to new experiences can only make your marriage stronger and richer. I don't know about that one. I mean, Molly is the one moping around miserable at the thought of her husband shagging about, so... You make it sound so easy. Was it easy for you and Dad? Didn't you get jealous? I ask, fishing for information. I'll just say this. It was not easy, not one little bit. We sometimes stayed up all night talking things through, but if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. Genuinely, to me, it just sounds like so much more effort and manufactured drama on top of the normal work of keeping a relationship going, so why bother? Stop settling for marriage in the first place, and maybe you wouldn't have to add in all these extra steps. I paused, thinking of what else to say. I can't tell Stuart I asked my mother about whether she thought our marriage was in trouble. It would reveal my own fear. Bro, what can you talk about with Stuart? So much for this, oh yeah, you guys talk to each other nonsense. Like, where's all this great communication I keep hearing about then? Also, there's some stuff about her mother's repressed rage, even with her freedoms, but she only ever expresses her rage by sighing. Meanwhile, Molly never expresses her anger, and that's why she gets migraines. I've taken notes on my phone. I open the document and start to read aloud. Nearly everything on my list, taking care of the kids, teaching, even sex with Stuart, has to do with a feeling of obligation. The only other item, thinking about Matt, relates to the disappearance of one thing in my life that didn't feel obligatory. So the funny thing about this book is that obviously right-wingers are up in arms and calling her and her husband degenerate, but my standpoint is maybe more like, so the whole marriage to motherhood timeline isn't for everyone, and women should really think about whether they actually want it for themselves or because they've been gaslit by society into believing it's right for them. It's also funny if you ever speak to older women who are divorced or widowed, and their advice to young women is always, don't do that to yourself, love. You don't need them. Literally my driving instructor, twice divorced. I know men have obligations too, I say, but I'm pretty sure that being a mother feels different than being a dad. It's not just the duty to provide for your family. It's like, as a mother, you're supposed to give up your whole self, like you're not allowed to have a self at all. See? Anyway, the therapist gives Molly homework about freedom. How American is that? She quits teaching to become a part-time teacher trainer, a teacher of teachers, if you will, to gain more freedom, and they decide to keep their marriage open, but they make new rules. Don't date an ex. Don't date anyone in the neighborhood. Don't date anyone too far away. Don't date someone you work with. No falling in love. Only go out on a date on a night when I also go out on a date. No going to anyone's house. No daytime dates. No sleeping over. No dating anyone you even might fall in love with. No playing chess or seeing movies with anyone else. Those are our things. Don't date anyone too young. Don't show me pictures of her for a year. Tell me a little bit, but not too much. I'm serious. No falling in love. Only tell me the bad things. Don't text me right after a date because I'll be worried that you'll still be thinking about her. Never mind. Do text me so I know you're thinking about me. And remember, absolutely no falling in love. This all sounds like way more effort than it's actually worth, to be honest. Her single friend shows her Tinder. She starts showing me her options. Men of all shapes and colours scroll past. Really? Bet there's no purple octagon-shaped men. She tells her friend about her situation, who then suggests Ashley Madison, the website for adulterers and cheaters. So she makes an account and calls herself Mercedes Invierno. And she literally pretends to be Latina. Part 2, Chapter 7. She meets up with someone from the site called Mike. Oh God, he says. It's terrible, for men at least. Half the women on Ashley Madison are like Russian hackers or something. They just try and string you along and make up some crisis or another so you'll send them money. But if you suggest actually meeting, they put you off. This is so funny considering the Netflix documentary video I covered last year. And on Mike's other date, he got catfished because a woman used a photo of her own daughter. What drama. And by the way, before we keep talking about my shitty ass life, I just have to say, you're gorgeous. Way hotter than the lady's daughter even. And there it is. The validation I crave. I feel like she wrote this entire book just so she could publish this about herself. It comes up a lot. I wonder if Stu ever checks his phone when he's on a date, if he stops to consider where the boys are at any given moment in time, if he feels the tug of responsibility taking him out of a hedonistic moment. But I already know the answer. He doesn't need to feel responsible because I've got it covered. I always have. Lady, your husband is such a catch. No, really. But I wonder why Molly feels like she's not allowed to have an identity outside of being a mother with such an absentee husband. He sounds less like a father and more like a fun uncle who bowls in for an afternoon. She quickly books a hotel to take Mike to, but begins to sober up and has to try to force herself to be into him again. He dutifully opens the box as I stroke his penis, which is smaller than either Stuart's or Matt's. By the time he gets the condom on and manages to put himself inside me, he is already growing flaccid. Amazing. So she gives him oral. Mike's disappointing penis as my drunken state starts to morph into the beginnings of a hangover. An uncomfortable feeling rises within me, an unfamiliar and unwelcome sense of obligation. There is no way I can pretend I'm enjoying this. You are really selling me on this open marriage concept. So he orgasms, she doesn't because he does nothing for her. Then she lies about it being fun. He leaves and she feels sad and alone. Has it made you stronger yet? I think about Rachel Cusk's memoir about motherhood, A Life's Work, which a friend gave to me after Nate was born. In the introduction, Cusk writes about childbirth dividing mothers from the rest of the world, dividing women even from themselves. I remember the line verbatim is this: when she is with them, she is not herself. When she is without them, she is not herself. And so it is as difficult to leave your children as it is to stay with them. I feel this to be profoundly true. It seems impossible that the person who just slept with a stranger is the same person who Daniel and Nate called mum. I don't even remember how to code switch. I don't know how to return to a state of motherhood fast enough to relieve the babysitter and put my kids to bed. That sounds miserable. Then again, if only you had a husband or a father for the kids, that would probably help. Molly wants to date more people. I don't want to get too hung up on any one guy. Not really. Mike waited 2 full days to text a lukewarm invitation to repeat my first performance. Can't stop thinking about your mouth. Want to hook up again? I didn't even like him. I could admit that much to myself. But I still felt disappointed by his delayed response, by the reference to nothing more than my ability to give head. Again, miserable. Meanwhile, Stuart is dating 4 different women somehow. Yeah, right. When does the open marriage go so well for the man? This is the opposite of everything Reddit has taught me. Someone is lying. The therapist says you want emotional detachment, but the detachment with Mike made you feel bad. You say you hate capitalism, and yet you use an iPhone. Yeah, I sigh. I guess so. Maybe what I really want is for men to feel attached to me, but for me to feel detached from them. That is hilarious. That is iconic. Kind of love that for her. Then again, maybe what you really want is a husband you respect and feel attracted to. The therapist then says this is problematic. Well, your date with Mike is a good example. You wanted him to desire you, and you wanted to please him sexually. That was more important to you than desiring him or deriving any real pleasure for yourself. Ew, absolutely not. Later on, she reads through Ashley Madison and arranges more dates, one of which is with a bloke called Leo, who is a minor celebrity comedic writer in New York and a creative lover. The first time Leo... Me? I have no idea what's happening. The way this completely caught me off guard when I read it. Me and Molly both. There's then a half French dude called Laurent. And I cannot escape Twilight no matter how hard I try. Unlike Leo, Laurent is in fact married and has 2 small children. He assures me that he and his wife have a don't ask, don't tell agreement. She, you see that, is from Brazil, he tells me. She has, how do you say, an understanding of Latin men. She definitely doesn't. On our first date, Laurent follows me into the woman's bathroom and does that to me as I sit on the sink. On our second date, he follows me again and I let him have sex with me. Let him. I've been craving real dates. From our credit card bills, I know that Stuart always takes women out to dinner before heading to a hotel. Damn. Her husband dates other women, but not her. My heart jumps a bit higher. He remembers something I said on a previous date. In the awkward moments after copulating in the bathroom, I made a joke about ticking items off my bucket list. Next up, prison sex. Then jabbered about an amazing production of Julius Caesar I'd seen, set in a women's penitentiary. I didn't think Laurent was even listening. On the contrary, he noted one of my passions, bought tickets, and made thoughtful plans for our evening. At the time, I said leave Stuart, marry Laurent, but no, he's horrible. It is a show based on Macbeth. You will love it. This is a very tactful approach to showcasing a foreign accent. Oh ho ho, he laughed. Anyway, Molly puts on a mask at this new event and says it feels like she joined the cast of Eyes Wide Shut, which... So the show is called Sleep No More, and it's a play acted out of sequence based on Macbeth in various rooms. And then Laurent pushes her behind a curtain so they can do sex stuff with other audience members nearby. Within moments, Laurent is finishing in my mouth. An instant later, he zips up and steps out from behind the curtain, leaving me there on my knees. Never mind, I tell myself, I'm having adventures. I am living. Could you not just go on holiday instead? One day, Leo sends me a text. Maybe you should get yourself a bum plug and bring it along next time. You could buy her one, you massive cheapskate. Anyway, she buys a frankly adorable one and experiments with it solo. And honestly, why am I reading this? I could literally just go read or watch actual porn. Anyway, she tries it out and asks her husband to come see, and then it all kicks off. That's what I was thinking when I texted you, but now it's started to hurt, I say. When I see the confusion on his face, inarticulate anger rises within me. Why did you take so long to come upstairs? I shout. Why are you angry at me? He shouts back. You bought a sex toy to use with your boyfriend and you're yelling at me because I didn't come up fast enough to test drive it? The words come out before I have a chance to think about them. I'll bet you took your time because you're so tired from having sex with a million other women that you don't want to have sex with me. A million women, says Stuart, sitting down on the bed next to me and sighing. I'm glad you think I'm such a Casanova, Molly, but that's a slight exaggeration, don't you think? It all just seems so easy for you, I blurt, finally saying what I've been thinking for months. Mercedes Invierno wants to pretend that sex with multiple men is a dream come true, and straight A Molly is too competitive to admit that Stuart is winning the open marriage games. I lean against Stu, wearing my best pout. She finally starts communicating with him, but has to infantilize herself by saying that she wore a pout like a grumpy child. Anyway, Stuart basically says, well, it's easier for me because men suck, and that's that. Chapter 8. She goes back to her therapist to discuss recent things. And second, it seems that you're afraid that Stuart's relationships will interfere with your marriage, particularly when it comes to sex. Damn, he's good. I literally could have told you that for free. I kind of just wish I could have seen this therapist's face when it dawned on him who he was dealing with and how much he could rake in. The therapist says Molly should close the gap between Mercedes and herself by opening herself up to these dudes. Respectfully, I don't think they are interested in her personality. Over the next weeks, instead of sexting him like I usually do, I send Leo recordings of me singing and playing guitar. I invite him to one of my gigs, which is just an open mic at a hole-in-the-wall Brooklyn bar. He tells me he'd love to come, but a few hours beforehand I receive a text. Tonight's a bust for me, but break a leg. He suggests I learn a armor trading song that he thinks will suit my voice, and I spent hours working on it, eager to play it for him in person. The moment never arrives. See, they could not care less. She should have told Leo that she was the hole in the wall. Then he would have shown up. Also, after Christmas, Leo hands me a jar of the preserved lemons he'd given to all of his friends as holiday gifts. They're great stuffed into a roast chicken, he tells me. This means something to me. I'm a person Leo can envision somewhere other than his bed. A person with such a full life that I might need an easy way to perk up chicken for a spur-of-the-moment dinner party. She's a bit naive, isn't she? She's like a teenager or something. He probably just had the jar left over. Molly gets banned from a place called a breather room, an office space where you can rent like by the hour to work from, because she and Laurent had sex in it and she has to pay a fine. Laurent doesn't even offer to pay half. She tells her husband, "Why don't you guys just get a hotel? He can afford it." I've told Stuart that Laurent is a finance guy, but I skipped over some other relevant information. Although he's 6 years my junior, Laurent is already on his third marriage and spends a huge amount of money each month on alimony. Regardless, I bristle at what sounds to me like a sexist assumption about who should be paying for dates. I know Stu pays for every hotel room, every dinner, with the occasional exception when a woman insists. I suspect he harbours the notion that this is the way it should be, though. He'd never say it outright. Yeah, I'm sure you think that's noble, but honestly, you look like a mug considering this bloke won't even go halves on a fine that you incurred together. It is okay, says Lawrence, not missing a stroke. Just relax. I love the portrayal of a cartoon European written by a lazy American. They are shagging in yet another workplace. I wonder if he'll offer to pay the fine for this one. Wait, it's her shared workspace where she goes regularly. You are just asking for trouble. So he moans loudly and then he loudly proclaims, "Who cares if anyone hears us? Americans are too uptight." And she goes, "Well, at least give me the condom so I can get rid of it." And he goes, "Oh no, I forgot to wear one." Pain is gathering around the crown of my head. This isn't the first time he's done me from behind without protection. The last time he claimed his condom had fallen off. Now he's not even attempting to lie. But I should have known, shouldn't I? I should have been able to feel the difference. I stare at him, trying to decide which one of us is more to blame. So he's been stealthing her, which is sexual assault. She blames herself because she is like 50 something. Maybe she doesn't, not in a patronising, condescending way, but we've come a long way with consent talks since a couple decades ago. Maybe she doesn't know that this is sexual assault, that he did that to her several times. Maybe she doesn't want to know. Anyway, she's not the arsehole, but she will be the arsehole if she doesn't dump him. I haven't told Stu about the no condom incident, rationalising that we both get tested for STDs regularly. But it's hard to hide a urinary tract infection from him. In the 6 months I've been dating Laurent, I've already had 3. After the last one, Stu lets out a resentful sigh. "This guy is breaking all my toys," he complained. "All of the men in this book are diabolical. I am not feeling inspired in my relationship yet." Chapter 9. Laurent makes a pointed comment about Molly not having waxed genitals. "You're the asshole for staying with him, babe." "Baby, you're not weird. I like your bush," says Stu, giving me a come hither look. Stuart can get turned on by anything. Where does this guy ever find the time to parent his own kids? Oh, wait. "Do whatever you want, my little hobbit," Stuart said. He is kind of funny for that. Molly decides to get her body hair, her thighs too, lasered instead of waxed. Really? One comment from some bloke and you're booking 20 sessions of lasering. I assume he's not helping to pay for this either. Come on. Anyway, then Daniel, now 13, rings her to ask if she's in an open marriage with his father. "Yeah, she is, Daniel, and it's all your fault." That's what I'd say. Some people just want to watch the world burn. When? I mean, I get that dad has time for it, but when do you do it? So funny that even at 13, he recognises his dad as a lazy wastrel. Daniel's question brings me relief on 2 levels. 1, he's using the beautifully vague word it. It can mean anything. It can mean going out with other men in a purely social, intellectual way. It can mean I'm out in the world having deep conversations about poetry and politics, not shagging adulterers in bathrooms. The dichotomy between the Molly she wants to present as, talking deeply about poetry and politics, and the Molly she is, shagging in bathrooms, just tickled me a little bit. While most kids, Daniel included, would rather avoid talking with their parents about sex, or would at least like to keep those talks as short and nebulous as possible, 10-year-old Nate is quite the opposite. He sees the world through a sexual lens and shares his observations with whomever is close at hand. She says when Nate was 3, he told another student during a bathroom break that her butt looked good. When he was 7, I checked out some bedtime books at the library. One of them was titled King and King. It was about a prince who didn't want to marry a princess. He wanted to marry another prince instead. As the story progressed, Nate got increasingly wound up, giggling and squirming and being all kinds of silly. Fearing I was raising a homophobic child, I reprimanded him. Nate, I said, how would you like it if you wanted to marry a princess and somebody forced you to marry a prince? His eyes twinkled. I'd say, bring on the men. To Nate, sex was sex, and it was all cause for delight. I'm guessing this part is what got the right-wingers wound up. Molly is paying $200 per therapy session, by the way. Jesus. She remembers how her mother got her to join Mahikari and calls it a cult because her mother wouldn't give her medicine and would instead give her light and not red light therapy. Her therapist said she's only screwing up her own children the average amount. Back home, Daniel was getting very clingy and suspicious of his mum whenever she goes out, so Stuart speaks to him man to man and Daniel backs off. Daniel is the asshole for needing stability in the home and fearing his family unit will break up. Oh, but he was caring more about his mum than his dad. Yeah, because his mum actually parents them and is actually around and the dad ain't. It makes total sense to me. Leo is on a trip and comes back and gives Molly a booty call. Leo greets me at the door, half dressed as usual, and through a joint effort, we are both naked in under a minute, but then it stops feeling familiar. I suppose there's a reason why sailors have the reputation they do, being out at sea for long stretches without access to women. Sex is consensual that day, but it's also rough, rougher than it's ever been before, and rougher than I want it to be. I give myself over to his desires and try to squelch my own. Leo bites my lip, hard, leaving a bruise like smudged lipstick that I can feel for days. And once the sex is over, our pillow talk, something we typically linger over, is cut short. He has so much to do. He thanks me for coming over on such short notice, and he ushers me out the door. Well, Leo isn't a sailor. He's some 2-bit comedy writer, so I don't know what his excuse is. This is a miserable red flag. Why didn't I stop him? Why couldn't I tell him how he was making me feel? Like a Grubhub delivery to a ravenous man, devoured without even the civility of napkins or utensils. Because really, who am I? I'm not special. I'm not loved. I'm not even Leo's mistress. I'm his piece of ass on the side. What did I expect anyway? Again, miserable. She complains to her therapist that she's not got real freedom. She's reacting to men's pleasure, that the sex is a fleeting pleasure, but then she always feels sad afterwards, etc. She says she feels empty after meaningless sex, but filled up by time with her family. Snore. Has she ever watched WWE? Because that is not fleeting pleasure. That fills you up nicely for decades. Sex with near strangers is fine, but it's nothing like the satisfaction of defeating you for the United States Championship this weekend at Armageddon. Also, giving too much of herself to her family makes her feel empty as well. She literally cannot win. Get a flipping hobby, woman. Over the next few weeks, I think about my bucket, the insidious hole. I wish you wouldn't. She decides not to see Leo anymore. Good. And with Laurent, she meets him at some seedy inn. Some of the rooms have mirrors on the ceiling. The furniture is covered in easy-to-wipe plastics, so the only bodily fluids a couple encounters are their own. The front desk will even call the room 10 minutes before time runs out, less of a wake-up than a get-out courtesy call. The depressed-looking housekeeping staff, with whom I avoid eye contact, has to ready the room for the next patrons. Gross. I nearly got a UTI just reading this. You make the point. Oh, God. Sorry. He says, we will go... Is it offensive if I say it how she's writing it? My boyfriend's French, so I'll just do it anyway. You make the point, he says. We will go someplace newsy next time. Newsy next time. Newsy? I want to ask you to go with me anyway. It is a sex club. Just relax, he says. It is a different place in the Bowery. I promise you will love it. Is this a hate crime? I asked my French boyfriend, I showed him it. He read it and he was like, what? I was like, it's a French person. And he laughed. And he just called it stupid and walked off. So there we go. But still, very annoying. Anyway, Molly wants to go somewhere new and fancier. So Laurent wants to take her to a sex club for group sex, but Molly refuses. Laurent sends back a single emoji, pouty face. I've seen that face before. In person, I think of all the pushback Laurent gave me about wearing a condom, how he complained about the discomfort, said it was like having sex with a rubber glove, told me he needed to feel me, all of me, in order to orgasm. I then think with shame about how I eventually relented and how I rationalised this choice. He's going to take the condom off anyway, I thought. I'm on the pill. I'll ask him to come only when we're having bum sex. I graduated from butt plugs months ago. I'll just keep getting tested for STDs. And now Laurent is asking me to relent again, to turn my back on a decision I made long ago, to never go to a sex club again. Good God, woman. You are a grown-up, married with 2 kids. Stand up more, please. This is the type of behaviour you tolerate in your early 20s because you don't have enough self-esteem yet. Am I victim blaming? Lauren whines at her, so she actually calls him an asshole, thank God. Very well, perhaps it is time I look for another button. I stared dumbly at his message. I remember something he said to me on our first date, when I made an oblique reference to his wife. Does she suspect? He avoided the question. Instead, he relayed something his Argentine mother used to say to him. Women are like buttons. If you lose one, you can always find another. Good one, Mum. Cheers. Why hadn't I ran the other direction? Can you please talk to your therapist about your inability to see and act and react upon seeing communist parade red flags? So she dumps him and blocks him. Hurrah, finally. Now just do the same to your husband. Then she has a massive cry. Grow up. Chapter 10. They finally go to couples therapy together. Should have done that before opening up the marriage, but oh well. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. I take a deep breath. We're here because I don't want to be in an open marriage anymore, but Stuart does. Oh my God, dump him. It's not that I want to keep the marriage open regardless how Molly feels. It's that I know she's going to change her mind. He turns and faces me. You're unhappy right now. I get it, but you have to give it time. You'll meet somebody new and you'll feel differently. Tears sting my eyes. We haven't even been here 5 minutes. I don't want somebody new, I say. I want you. I hate this guy. Your husband is such a red flag. It doesn't feel that way. I feel so alone. You're not alone, Molly, he shouts, exasperated. I'm here next to you right now. I take it back. What a catch. Maybe they should have had a family holiday, instead of doing all of this. I don't know. Molly, Evelyn continues, can you be more specific about what you need from Stuart to not feel alone? I want him to be happy when he's home, I say. You can't force me to be happy, Molly, Stuart erupts. Sorry, I'm not supposed to talk. Bell end. I need to have more fun with Stuart, I say. We used to have so much fun. I turn to face him. I want you to take me to breakfast. Last week you took Beth out for breakfast and it hurt my feelings because you and I never do that anymore. And I love breakfast. He's dating other women but won't date his own wife. She's just asking for breakfast. This guy's the worst. I'll absolutely take you out for breakfast this week. You will? I say, brightening. Of course, he answers. Pick a day when you don't have any workshops or meetings and we'll go while the kids are at school. Is that it? My shoulders slump as I consider his words. Well, now I feel like you're just checking an item off a list. I want you to want to go to breakfast with me, and for it to be your idea. Stu drops my hand. He throws himself back against the couch with enough force that I bounce a little. I can't win, he shouts, addressing Evelyn now. No matter what I do, she gets upset. Divorce. You want me to read your mind, Stu says, and if I don't guess what you're thinking, you're disappointed in me. To be fair, she doesn't actually communicate with him properly, which then gives him plausible deniability because he's definitely craftier than her, keeping around his ex-girlfriend to jump at shagging her at a moment's notice. Ha! So he can be all, but you said you like sleeping with other people. I know you were crying, but you said you liked it. Like, this guy's very manipulative. Basically, Molly is naive and a little dumb, and Stuart is insidious. There, I said it. How does this feel, Stuart? Asks Evelyn. To have Molly really hear what you're saying. It feels good. It's like having my own little parrot. I want the 2 of you to practice this technique at home. And remember, Molly, it's okay to need Stuart and to tell him what you need, whether you decide to keep this marriage open or not. This concept hits me with an unexpected blast of relief. Our marriage, whether it's monogamous or not, needs attention and care. For goodness sake, what a concept! Emboldened by one good session of therapy, she decides, actually, yes, let's keep doing the open marriage. Let's give it a real try because these other attempts weren't real somehow. My God, this is like the communism of relationships. Real open marriages she didn't try and do a real one yet. She decides to stay away from Ashley Madison. Good. And instead joins OkCupid. Bad. On OkCupid, you can choose non-monogamous, so I guess it is better, quite a bit better than her helping facilitate and condone cheaters. She then fills out the form for the website. How willing are you to date someone who has another partner? If your partner told you they'd kiss someone else, how would you react? How important to you is exclusivity in a relationship? I choose among the nuance-free answers provided. Very willing. I'd be fine with it. Not important. And just like that, I'm officially in an open marriage. You've already been in this open marriage, and stop kidding yourself because it makes you miserable. Over the next few days, my OkCupid account becomes the center of my universe. I soon learn how this free dating site makes money. Unless I buy a premium membership, I can't even read the messages in my inbox. Oh no, that stupid Black Mirror episode was right, but with the least amount of stakes possible. She finds out her top match is Stuart. It's like that episode of Parks and Rec where Tommy matches with Leslie. She matches with some dude called Liam. For a man who makes his living in wine, he's arranged for a date that's unsettlingly alcohol-free. Grow up, you're like 40. Polyamory is still very misunderstood. Even the poly community can't agree on what it is. That sounds thrilling. Liam doesn't exactly laugh. It's more like a zen smile that evokes the sense of laughter. Does it evoke the concept of laughter? This bloke was raised in a poly commune. What the hell is that? Ah, he's from California. Got it. People can really get hung up on language, you know. Like, some purists don't consider open marriage to be polyamory at all. They think it's too hierarchical, since spouses are automatically primary and other partners are secondary or whatever. Oh, whatever, you sound just like the puritanical vegans who are like, I wouldn't even get a vegan sausage roll from Greggs because it's both junk and sold alongside meat ones, as if they don't shop at Tesco's on the day-to-day basis and if supply and demand doesn't exist. Anyway, so this guy is solo poly, which means I'm my own primary relationship. So I don't intend to get married or even for my romantic relationships to last forever. But that doesn't mean I don't take relationships seriously. I don't doubt him. He's looking at me with a steadiness that can only be described as, well, serious. It's like having more than one close friend. People love their friends, but they don't need a legal document forcing them to commit to their friends for life. And nobody would say, I can't believe you've been seeing other friends. You know what I mean? The latter part of that, I totally understand. I totally understand. I think of marriage as well, but the first part of that's so funny to me. I've also met some of my partners through other partners, he continues. That's the best, when you love two people who also love each other. At this, the bubble of excitement starts to deflate. I try to conjure love for one of Stuart's girlfriends. All that comes is a heavy feeling akin to dread. Is this because she's a boomer and women are the enemy? Liam reads my reaction with disquieting accuracy. So I'm guessing you haven't experienced compersion yet, he asks. What? Compersion. It's a positive feeling you get when your partner is with someone else, kind of like the opposite of jealousy. No, I say quickly. Definitely haven't experienced that one. So he tells her to go read a book called The Ethical Slut, A Practical Guide to Polyamory. Love getting homework from my dates. She meets Liam at this bar at 10:30 on a Tuesday night, and the craziest thing about this entire book is, after time enough for 2 glasses of wine, the guy gets the kitchen to make her some soup. So at like 11, half 11 at night, a kitchen staying open that late? London literally could never. I would quite like to visit New York, maybe when America's calmed down a little bit, maybe. She drinks at the bar, doesn't even actually hang out with him, gets a snog with him, and then goes home. Imagine if she spent all of this time doing literally anything else. He invites her to Poly Cocktails. It's exactly what it sounds like, but Poly Cocktails, the website states, was started on Valentine's Day 2007 by 3 polyamorous activists. Activists? What do you mean? Not exactly well, actually, I guess bigamy is illegal. I was going to be like, it's not exactly oppressed because I was thinking of Mormons, but bigamy is illegal in a lot of states. But then throughout the world, it's legal for various cultures to have several wives. So yeah, no, I double down on that. You aren't oppressed. What do you mean, activist? Behave. She has dinner with Stuart. I roll my eyes every time I see his name. Our own kids aren't with us. Nate is eating pizza with the cast, and Daniel, now an 8th grader, is hanging out with his friends and will meet us at the play. My children's growing independence is simultaneously thrilling and horrifying. Oh, glorious freedom, shouts one part of me. Oh, death of purpose, grieves another. Pfft. They chat about poly cocktails. What I'm questioning is whether you really want to know, he says. How can I put this? You tend to ask questions and then get angry when I answer honestly. I guarantee he's someone who says he's being honest when actually he's being a gaslighting arsehole. I grip my wine glass with both hands, so Stuart is dating someone who's teaching him the same concepts I'm learning from Liam. This is a good thing, right? Getting us on the same page? Then why do I feel consumed by jealousy? I try to remember my new ethical slut wisdom. Jealousy is often the mask worn by the most difficult inner conflict you have going on right now. If it's this hard for you, then it's just not for you, babes. I know poly people can still feel jealousy, but surely not like this. She's in actual pain with her husband and refuses to see it or do anything about it. So he tells her he met someone on OkCupid called Tinkerbell, who says poly cocktails is used for people to find sex parties, and Stuart went to one with Tinkerbell. She has tattoos all over her back and her nipples are pierced, he says. You know I'm not into that stuff. I say, feeling gratitude towards Stuart for relating only the negatives of the experience, which is to say the details I can handle. But like a fool, I push for more. Was there anything you liked about it? Of course, says Stu too quickly. And then before I can retract my question, he adds, it's like having a front row seat for porn. It was kind of cool watching other people get off, you know? I nod, mute, tears rising. I blink them away. I'm failing to see how Molly thinks this is a good marriage. They don't actually hang out. He spends more time and money on dates with random women. They keep secrets from each other. She's upset all the time with him. Don't blame her. It's just pathetic. Just say you're co-parenting and be done with it. But wait. They're not even co-parenting because he doesn't co-parent. He doesn't parent. The feeling behind the tears is a familiar one. It is my worry, my fear that I don't fulfill all of Stuart's needs. He likes to watch people having sex and, not for lack of trying, I can't give that to him. Molly, with all due respect, I don't care about Stuart's needs and at this point, neither should you. What does it matter if Stu gets some of his needs met elsewhere, I think? And the thought behind this is a new feeling, too, a tingling of freedom. If I'm no longer Stu's only sex partner, then there's no guilt in saying no to things I don't want to do. There's no guilt in saying no to things I don't want to do. There's no guilt. There's no guilt. I wonder why she feels guilt. I wonder. This is a good thing, right? Win-win. So why do I still feel jealous? Why is this feeling of compersion so elusive? What's all these weird revelations like 3 to 4 years into this memoir? Did you not realise this the first time Stuart went off to shag someone else? Also, I am still convinced that he was having affairs the whole time, by the way. But they really did choose to make their dull marriage everyone else's problem. Stuart stops the video and grabs my hand, kisses it and continues to hold it tight. He leans over and whispers in my ear, I love you. I realise that our marriage is safe. Never mind that I won't go to a sex party with him. There is nothing that could bond me to Stuart more than our common love objects. Our children. Nice try, Molly. Your marriage is bad. Kids don't change that. They aren't band-aids. She doesn't go to poly cocktails with Liam after all and ends things with him. Weak. She starts chatting to someone else. Carl. I hesitate. Windsor Terrace is so awfully close, but Stuart will be so thrilled that I found someone I like. I'm sure he'll overlook the no one in the neighbourhood rule. Just felt like I was outside my body. Stuart probably overlooks that rule himself. Also, I hate Stuart, so go for it. Carl is German, right? On Wednesday, he sends me a voice memo so I can hear his accent. Hello, Molly, this is Carl. Now you are sure I am very German. Where's the accents? Where's the over accenting? What, we just get a hello? Really? Put more effort in for Lawrence dialogue, didn't you? Before even meeting Carl, she's like, maybe we'll fall in love, good lord. As I approach the bar, I see a large figure in a dark coat standing in the middle of the sidewalk, furiously blowing his nose into what appears to be a real live handkerchief. He looks up and sees me walking towards him. His face lights up in a huge smile, even as he's still vigorously wiping his nose with a hanky. It's Carl. The man is already showing me his boogers. There is something about the vulnerability of this act, the complete lack of pretense, that sends a dizzying wave from my heart to my pelvis and back again. I was right before, you genuinely have a terrible taste in men. His woolen coat is infused in the smell of cigarettes, and although I've never dated a smoker, I'm instantly drawn to the aroma. He seems so nice, so proper, but the smoke is proof of a destructive streak, giving him a bad boy edge. Me sitting with my cigarettes in the pub, hee hee, I'm a bad boy. She lies to Stuart about her date with Carl, making it sound unemotional and disconnected. This is exactly how I need Stuart to feel, unthreatened. Divorce! Side note, many reviewers for newspapers found this book funny. Where is the funny part? There was a bit earlier I didn't include where she said, I hope I didn't get a chickpea stuck in my teeth. Is this what's so ha-ha funny to you people? Good God, you people are idiots. I can't believe my brilliant satirical work ain't appreciated in my own time, but this dross is called funny. Chapter 11. She's dating Carl a lot more now. Also, her mum might have Parkinson's and is on new medication. She goes to see Carl at his and his fiance's. As I enter the apartment, I know I've chosen well. I find myself in an adult, feminine-inflected wonderland, a home that is neither overrun by children nor a bachelor's pad. A few candles are lit, and a bouquet of flowers is on the small kitchen table. Acoustic guitar music plays on the stereo, and a bottle of wine and 2 glasses have been laid out on the counter. I mean, this is just escapism from her own mediocre life. If you need escapism this badly, then shouldn't you just change your life instead? He even gives her a massage. I won't say which type because I am allergic to that word. He then gives her oral so mind-blowing that she cries. I did say leave Stuart, run away with Carl. Then she sees a nice photo of Martina, the fiancé, and of course she gets insecure about it. I've never thought about what it means to be the secondary partner until now. The woman in the photograph is the woman Carl considers the pinnacle of beauty, the woman he wants to be with forever, the woman he loves. This rouses in me feelings of jealousy that I thought were reserved only for Stuart. But Martina is also the woman who created the sanctuary I just enjoyed, who scented candles and high thread couch sheets, who stayed away from her home so that I could be tenderly ministered to by her man, and for this I'm deeply grateful. I feel intrigued, drawn and connected to her in a way that surprises me. I think the therapist needs to look into her attachment issues because there's no way she should be feeling this possessive over Carl already. Martina is glad I didn't change the sheets after you left. She likes the smell of you. New plan. Leave Stuart, be Carl and Martina's unicorn. Wow, I say. Recently, Stuart has dated a string of single women. He ended things with the last one when she asked if he would ever divorce me. He told her there was no chance of that, and she broke into tears. She got that info from Stuart, obviously, and I don't believe him. In fact, I don't even believe he's shagging half as many women as Molly thinks. He is not a catch, despite allegedly being a millionaire. He is Jay from the In-Betweeners. Imagine if he didn't actually manage to hook up with anyone else, but he's in too deep and too embarrassed to backtrack now. Molly thinks Martina is weird. She says this while Stuart tries to get her to tell him about her hookup with Carl so he can get off. So be quiet, you misogynist. The call is coming from inside the house. Your husband is the weird one. Yeah, I say again. That part's a little weird too. Her girlfriend, I think her name is Rebecca, is also engaged to a man. And Carl told me that Martina is the first woman Rebecca ever slept with. He said Martina likes straight chicks. Stu laughs. Well, they must not be that straight if she's having sex with her. Exactly, I say. Do you think that's weird? Not at all, says Stu. Granted, I'm not a bisexual woman, but it's pretty popular male fantasy to get a lesbian to turn straight. Maybe she's in the same sort of thing, but in reverse. That's her kink. Maybe, I say, still feeling doubts I can't put my finger on. So it's okay when men do it, is it, Molly? Stu laughs. Kiwi already thinks you're amazing too, but that's because I only tell her the good stuff. He winks at me. Kiwi? The woman I went out with tonight, the one from New Jersey, who's in an open marriage. She's originally from New Zealand, so that's my nickname for her. A knot starts to twist in my stomach. A nickname? Stuart has a million nicknames for me. Vasco da Gama when I get lost. Mario Andretti when I get a speeding ticket. The ever-favoured suitcase. But a nickname for another woman? His nickname for her is just reducing her down to her birth country. Chill out. Anyway, so she's very conflicted about Stuart's new girlfriend. She's jealous but also likes that Stuart loves her, so therefore Kiwi is not a threat. Give me a break. She decides to go on a date with someone else to distract from Carl. I decide to reach out to a guy I've been with once, just for drinks, who's also in an open relationship. Besides being cute and sweet, Jay would help me set a personal record. He's 14 years younger than I am. I hardly stop to consider whether this is an attempt to level the playing field with Stuart. He lets slip that Kiwi is 13 years his junior, and thus 8 years younger than I am. But Stu claims her being married with 3 kids, not to mention making a life for herself in a new country, balances this out. She's lived more than an average 35-year-old, and anyway, it's half plus 7, right? He says, referring to our agreed upon formula for determining if a potential partner is cheating. It's not your agreed upon formula. Everyone says that. According to this rule, Stuart at 48 is allowed to date a 31-year-old. At 43, I can dip down to 28 and a half. Jay is a ripe old 29-year-old. None of this makes either of you more interesting. So she meets up with Jay, but he gives terrible head. Wow, the juxtaposition. How artful. But Jay has the biggest willy she's ever seen, but then he's also terrible at sex too. Oh, the humanity. But although it isn't painful, it certainly isn't pleasant, and yet I catch myself making sounds of enjoyment. Speak up, Molly, I say to myself. Have you truly learned nothing? She does not speak up. All these years, I've been led to believe that big penises are the best thing since sliced bread. I suddenly feel immense gratitude for the perfection of Stuart's penis. Is this a backhanded compliment? In this time, Carl has been texting her because he's jealous of the other date. She rings Carl to complain about Jay, who apologises for all the texts, but Molly finds it flattering. Carl establishes Molly is free to date whoever, but he only wants to date her. But Molly then agrees that she only wants to date him too. This has more twists and turns than WrestleMania. Here comes Stuart with the shit parenting and steel chair. She actually sees him again. Carl, that is, not her husband, her actual husband, on Friday, Sunday and Tuesday. At this point, I do think she is seeing him more than Stuart. Anyway, Carl is a gentle lover, the opposite of Stuart, who is dominant and yells swear words that I can't repeat during sex. But I never realised that what I crave isn't the absence of vulgarities, but the presence of something else. So when Carl whispers in my ear, "What do you want?" I surprise myself with the immediacy of my answer. "I want you to call me a good girl," I say. And after that, sex with Carl becomes a kind of affirmation, body and soul. "You're such a good girl, Molly," he coos in his bed in his cute German accent. He makes me feel good. I almost always cry when he makes me feel good. Sometimes he cries too. Molly has discovered praise kinks. Literally read fan fictions, Molly. And nothing Carl is doing sounds elaborate here, so I'll have to assume that Stuart is just dreadful in bed. In couples therapy, Stuart is upset because Molly is always hanging out with Carl and no longer focusing on him. This is what you get. He crashes out over seeing one of Molly's texts to Carl saying she wishes she could escape and come over right now. Grow up, mister. I slept with my ex-girlfriend and see a new woman every week. Go to hell. I turn from Stuart to Evelyn and see the sympathy on her face. Sympathy for Stuart, I'm sure. Something about this feels unjust. Am I not allowed to desire an escape? A sudden blast of anger burns my shame to ash. I know it hurts. You've been escaping from us for years. I feel a storm brewing in my chest, and now my voice rumbles in ominous thunder. It's like you have some sort of allergy to domesticity. You've never wanted to be home, and I was the one for years and years and years who did all the bedtimes and school pickups and the cleaning and the cooking and the laundry and shuttling the kids to birthday parties and after school activities and doctor's appointments. And you said you had to work, but now you seem to have time for other women, and one woman in particular. So yeah, maybe it's my turn for an escape. Hell yeah. Now divorce. Stuart's response to this is, "I feel like I can't please you. Ever since Daniel was born, everything I do is wrong. But out your ass." Schrodinger's biological male, logical, rational, capable, and entirely unable to ask for instructions or read a parenting book. Yeah, anyway, so somehow Stuart being a shit dad is Molly's fault. I'm going to spit and then shit in that order. The rest of the session goes by in a haze. Evelyn questions Stuart about the weeks following Daniel's birth, when Stuart's father got sick with pneumonia and died within a matter of days. I listen as he untangles the threads of stressors during the months that followed. We had a new baby and this was challenging enough. On top of it, Stuart was grieving, depressed. He guesses that I didn't have enough energy to take care of both Daniel's and his needs, so I dedicated myself to Daniel's, and he's right. I figured the best thing I could do for Stuart was take on as much of the parenting load as I possibly could, and I did. Yeah, she did that for him. Evelyn and Stuart's voices meld into a backdrop for new questions forming within me. At what point was Stuart ready, perhaps even needing, to come back into the fold of our newly formed family? When could I have relinquished some of my control, my notion of the right way to feed and diaper and bathe and soothe our baby son? When had my compassion for Stuart transformed into resentment, making him feel like he wasn't doing enough, even as I insistently took over every domestic and parenting task? Zip it. Molly, you're feeling stuck in the role of being a wife and mother and all that those roles entail. So being with Carl offers you a respite from that. And Stuart, you've been feeling like you can't live up to Molly's standards for you, that you're constantly disappointing her. And maybe being with Kiwi is appealing to you because her standards are easier to meet, because you don't have to do any of the difficult things with her, like raising children or building a life together. Don't marry someone and have kids then if you aren't going to work at it. Molly decides she doesn't want to lose Stuart. I have no idea what she sees in this chapter 12. Right, so we're doing the end of the video this way because, look, my skin has been really inflamed this week and it's irritated and I can't exfoliate it because I don't want to irritate it more, and I don't want to put makeup on top of skin that isn't exfoliated plus skin that is quite irritated because it will just make it worse, because I did do that the other day and then I was even redder the next day. So I don't want to put on makeup. I don't want to get in front of a camera. You can just watch me play Vampire Survivors in the background as we finish this video. Okay, chapter 12. Also, whoever's still watching, can you just let me know what you want from me? Because I don't know anymore. Every time I decide, nope, I'm just, the main channel will be a book channel, the second channel will be a slop channel. I go back on that decision like a week or so later. I don't want to be a one genre channel. It's not what I want. But then the corporate side of YouTube, which makes me spit, it's you can, or I'm definitely being more penalised for not being a one genre channel. And by penalised, I mean by, look at me biting the hand that feeds me, by companies, brand deals, sponsorships. These companies will do anything to get away with paying you as little as possible. And apparently one of the things that comes up about my channel and why I don't deserve a full rate. Sometimes I wonder if people even are interested in hearing about this side of YouTube, but there's a whole corporate side that I guess unless you're a corporate channel or like a Taylor Bell channel, you don't really see. But if you can hear that noise, my boyfriend is cleaning stuff in the hallway. I certainly have it used against me that, well, you know, there's no clear defining thing to Alizee's channel, so we will pay her less and give her pennies. And then obviously if you're too all over the place, your views are all over the place as well, unless you've got the audience catered for that. I just don't know. I don't really particularly... I like doing books when it's, you know, once in a while, and it's not... When it becomes like a, oh yes, I must do it week by week, I just don't want to do it, because I feel like, how many times can I say this thing is shit? Or if I did more social commentary, but then what am I doing a slop channel for? A slop channel that I'm not even uploading on at the moment, because that hyperfixation sure did wear off. I don't know. I just don't really know. I mean, of course I have some ideas, but then doing anything high production value costs more money, as I've complained about several times. I'm thinking of ways to like create a kind of intermediate between what I'm doing now and full-blown documentaries. I've got some ideas, so I'm looking forward to doing that. But just in the meantime, let me know what you guys think. Let's just get on with it. So Molly asks her mum if she actually believed all of the Mahi Carey stuff, and her mum says she and her husband's code name for Jim was Jesus Christ, because her husband / Molly's dad thought Jim was very important to her, both sexually and spiritually. There was also another guy called Buddha. A new polyamorous deity has been unlocked. Buddha was a sensei and Aikido dojo who practiced Mahi Carey, but he started seeing the mother and wanted her to stop seeing Jim. Well, it makes me question if my mother did anything for herself, I say. I mean, seeing other men was my father's idea. Then this whole spiritual quest of hers was driven by the men she was involved with. Even her names for them, Jesus Christ and Buddha, like they're divine beings or something. Like the men all have the answers and she's just following them, like a disciple. I did say if you stop seeing Carl because of Stuart, I'll be fuming, but Carl turns out to be spoiler alert, Carl's a piece of shit too. Anyway, Carl's fiance Martina wants to meet Molly, and they do one snowy day when Molly has taken Nate out to sled. Martina is very standoffish with her. I keep one nervous hand inside my pocket as to not miss the all-important buzz, signaling a text from Carl that will reveal my fate. Finally, as Nate and I trudge back home in the dusk, it comes. Martina is so mad at me, I read. My breath catches in my throat. And then, it is because I didn't tell her how hot you are. She was unprepared. Threesome's really incoming now, huh? So she meets up with Carl and Martina for a drink later on. We need a team name. Martina waves her hand, dismissing the suggestion. I was thinking of Two Smart Women and Carl. She smirks at me and I laugh uncomfortably. Carl has told me that Martina is very proud of her advanced degrees, and since Carl didn't go to college, he didn't even get his high school diploma, choosing to pursue photography instead. She likes to lord her intellect over him, but this doesn't feel like harmless teasing. There's something aggressive behind her words, or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. I hope Carl picks you, babe. I will go get us the drinks, says Carl. I think I know what both of you will like. He laughs in his light-hearted, goofy way, and I smile at Martina, trying to gauge her reaction to Carl's emphasis on the two of us as a unit. Her resting bitch face returns. It's like I'm back in middle school and have landed a seat at the mean girls table. I need to make myself small enough to avoid scrutiny. Yes, other women are evil, sure. This is very much like reading a Coho novel now, especially with the praise of her appearance coming from other characters, which they are to me because Americans are not real people. Haha, that's so true, she snorts. I'm playing a game invented by 12-year-old girls, making fun of others as a bonding right. What a prude. Making fun of people is funny. Justifiably, I mean. So, they play along at trivia night, but Molly knows more than Martina, so Martina starts getting annoyed, and Molly overcompensates by flattering her. Then Carl tries to ditch Martina to walk Molly home. I busy myself with my phone and attempt to eavesdrop, but I can't trust the snatches of conversation that reach my ears. You can go sleep with her right now for all I care. I hear, or imagine I hear. Right, okay, I'll collect my thoughts in a second. Should I wait where Carl left me, or turn and go? This is where it will end, I think. Martina will force him to break up with me and I'll have to start dating all over again. I can't do it. I'll tell Stuart that I tried as hard as I could, but I just can't do open marriage anymore. Imagine if you spent this time reading or doing another degree, or even walking over to this supposed mature couple and speaking to them like adults about the situation. But anyway, like Martina being like all angry and negative here doesn't really line up with how, she just wants to sleep with her really badly. And spoiler alert, they do have a threesome, right? And we'll get into that later. But it doesn't line up that well. I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe Molly is trying to like really villainize Martina. Who knows? Anyway, so Carl insists that Martina is fine and actually she's just annoyed because she wants to sleep with Molly too. Of course. My mind returns to our old apartment on the Upper West Side, the year before Stuart and I got married. After our second visit to La Trapeze, I decided I was done with sex clubs. We pivoted instead to the idea of a good old-fashioned threesome. In college and immediately after, I'd had a few crushes on female friends, though I was never sure if my attraction to women was truly sexual. But when Stuart told me that his ex-girlfriend Wild Wendy, the name differentiated her from Boring Wendy, whom he'd also dated, wanted to meet me, I started to wonder. I knew from Stu's, oh my god, this is literally just Sex and the City. And just like that, I couldn't help but wonder, World War Me? I knew from Stu's stories that Wild Wendy preferred women to men. I also knew that she was outrageous enough to make Stuart uninterested in anything beyond sex. Maybe an FFM threesome would be the safe way to test the depths of my bisexuality. You're exactly her type, Stu told me as he fondled my breasts and did that to me in anticipation. So yeah, of course he talked her into a threesome. She didn't enjoy the threesome. I could have told you that for free. Then again, maybe it was because Stuart was there, not understanding how women work. She says she will consider doing it with Carl and Martina, though. Anyway, Molly is alone in a hotel room and calls Stuart and starts crying again. Just can't wait for the end of the book where she advocates for these open relationships. It's okay, really. Kiwi totally gets it. She just stepped out so you and I can talk privately. Stepped out, I think, of the hotel room, of course. But then the jealousy that this image evokes transforms itself into gratitude. Kiwi gets it. Thank God he's dating someone who's open too. Yes, that is indeed the lesson here. I feel like I'm losing my mind, I say. I don't know why it's such a big deal to me, but I don't know what to do. Wow, this open marriage stuff is a great lark. Stuart chills her out at least. She ultimately decides on doing the threesome. You know, talking yourself into something this hard is definitely the right choice. Stu looks at me, choosing his words with care, trying to slow down this runaway train disguised as his wife. Are you sure you want to do this? I thought you went into women. Do what you want, I guess, he says, throwing up his arms. He's jealous. She has the threesome, but it all sounds very performative for her. The next day, I receive a series of texts from Carl. Martina and I had such a good time spoiling you last night. It was so hot to see you two together. Martina says I'm not to change the sheets. I feel a deep-seated uneasiness and respond with guarded enthusiasm. I'm glad. Me too. The threesome has been checked off the to-do list, right? I've done what Martina asked for. My obligation is fulfilled. She can't even stand up to Martina. Jesus. Martina then randomly tries to sext Molly, but she's not into it, obviously, and fobs her off. Chapter 13. In the following weeks, I obsess over the drama of Carl and Martina as if it is the only storyline in my life. In fact, that's what it has become. I see Martina only one more time. I stop by a gathering with their neighbours long enough to deliver another flirty performance and pretend to receive a call from Nate, ushering me home. But even Martina's absence is a presence. In every text exchange and every date with Carl, or even when I'm alone or with Stuart and the kids, she's always on my mind. I know I'm slipping into dangerous territory when I cancel an appointment with Mitchell and then one with Evelyn. Only Stuart is privy to just how lost I am inside the soap opera of my own making, how helpless I am to find a way out of it. One morning, I give him the latest updates. So according to Carl, she understands that he and I need to have our own dates, but she wants to watch us have sex sometimes. I'm not comfortable with that being the new normal though, so I suggested that if I want her to come in, we'll leave the bedroom door open, but otherwise we'll leave it closed. And she freaked out. She told him she's never felt so disrespected in her life. Carl says not to worry about it, but I have no idea how to placate her. It feels impossible. Stuart interrupts my monologue with an audible exhalation. I'm going out with Kiwi tonight, okay? I pause. His flat statement hits me like a fall onto the pavement. Shock protects me from hurt, at least for a few moments. I thought you and I were hanging out tonight. Molly, I need a break. He turns away from me. If I hear one more thing about Kmart, I'm going to lose my shit. Oh, I say. Yes?
Sorry, I'm literally going to run that Uber for 10 seconds.
Ah! I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that was 10. Well done. Hey! Cheat. He's right. Our time together has been poisoned. Oh no, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions, I don't give a single solitary shit about Stuart. Anyway, then Stuart finds out that Carl reopened his OkCupid account and liked Kiwi. Now it's a soap opera. Uh-oh, now Kiwi's gonna find out what it's like to have an orgasm. Stuart hands me his phone, and there is Carl's face, filling the app's blue frame. As I stare, my brain attempts to make sense of what I'm seeing. Carl has lied to me. He's already looking for his next girlfriend to replace me, and Kiwi is the one who attracted his attention. She's going to take both my husband and my boyfriend, and there's nothing I can do. I have let all of this happen, and now I'm powerless to stop it. The soft surface of the bed is too yielding, too accommodating to the brokenness inside me as I roll off the edge and lie on the hard wooden floor. The crying begins as a low moan, but soon I'm wailing so violently I can barely speak. Now it's a soap opera. I do wonder though, what percentage of pages is taken up by her crying, because it can't be a small number. Because I don't want you to get hurt, he says. I'm trying to protect you. And Kiwi isn't going out of him or anything. She just thought you should know he's lying to you. If you want to protect me, I scream, don't keep making me do this. Stop dating Kiwi and whoever else and just be with me. Don't you understand? I can't do this anymore. I cannot wait for Stuart to gaslight girl boss his way out of this. Imagine him being like, babe, no. Remember how free you feel getting bullied into sex with Martina. He reaches for me, but I won't let him touch me. I hold my hands over my ears like a child locked in a tantrum. I won't let him speak to me or comfort me, and I stay balled up on the floor in a rigid knot of pain. I wait until I hear Stu snoring before I crawl into bed, spent. He then just leaves her on the ground like this and falls asleep. This guy fucking sucks. I'm sorry. He sucks. He's the worst. Molly tries to confront Carl over this, who says, Martina used my account. It must have been her. In fact, it's not even my account, it's my friend's. I'm not sure what to do with this information. The unapologetic mix of honesty and dishonesty, and that is what it means for me. They are looking for new prey. Molly, you know that your husband is the true villain of this piece, yeah? She then gets a massive migraine and goes back to therapy. Let's talk about straight A Molly. You said that during your threesome with Carl and Martina, you felt like your true self was hidden, like you were performing a role. Do you think perhaps straight A Molly showed up that night? My lips go slack around the giant pink straw in my mouth. Oh my God, he's right. I nod. She keeps reminding us that apparently she's some sort of genius, but I have to say, like, some genius she is. Does she just, like, is she incapable of self-reflection without a therapist? Couldn't be me. Anyway, because I'm just self-absorbed. Anyway, she's fed up of being a people pleaser and gasps. And gasps? Why did I write that? People pleaser and gasps always feels like shit about herself. And gasp? Huh? Well, fine. She gasps that she always feels like shit about herself. And then, couldn't believe it. I'm in the wrong industry. You know, considering what I said about sponsorships, essentially trying to dictate kind of what I do with my own channel. Otherwise, they'll work with me for a fraction of that. Look at me, just look. I have to reject way more sponsorships than I actually take on. Okay, the ones I take on, like, they're fine, but so you know, it is what it is. But the way that I'm in the wrong profession. Listen to this next bit. Not that I'm giving you an A, he says, smiling, but you've reminded me of something else we talked about in a previous session. I think you've discovered the cause of the hole in your bucket. I stop my snivelling and think about it. Yes, the hole in my bucket, the place where all my self-worth leaks away. What I'm hearing from you right now, he continues, is that throughout your life, you've been looking outside of yourself, to your parents, to your kids, to Stuart, to Carl, for the validation and love you crave. But Molly, you can't receive anyone else's love until you love yourself. I sit up straighter, the pain in my head starting to diminish. I feel the truth in his words. $200 per session, several years. So, like, seemingly thousands of dollars in therapy later. The fix to her issues is learn to love yourself. The cheap message that they put in most Hallmark films. Are you joking me? Therapy would have been a lot cheaper if on your first session you saw your therapist leaning out the window with a cigarette and they just turned to you and asked, have you learned to love yourself yet? And as you melt into the floor in tears, realizing that that's the missing puzzle piece, the therapist sidles over to you and asks for $50 because cigarettes are expensive these days. Anyway, Carl then ghosts her. Can't believe the sweet, sensitive, soft boy Carl would use the most cowardly tactic there is. In fairness though, they're probably both sick of her crying all the time. The sheets just smell of sadness now. She Facebook stalks them and finds out they got married later on. Looking at the two of them together, I feel like I spent more time thinking about Carl than he spent thinking about me. I was merely a pawn. Martina liked straight women. Carl's job was to bring them home to her. Oh, sure. Carl is some sort of groomer, but your weirdo husband is a saint. The call is coming from inside the house, babe. Molly begins to date herself. She starts boxing, takes her mum to a weekend writing retreat. The writing retreat has a lot of challenges because of her mother's impediments and the retreat not being very wheelchair friendly, but they have a good time. She jams with musicians, plays The Sound of Silence to a crowd. They make new friends, which is nice, but disheartening to realize they only took a bunch of humiliating sex with strangers to realize a hobby and time to herself might have been the answer the entire time. Then there's this random meanness. After she's left the room, about a random woman, another woman, heavy set and wearing a chunky sweater, comes up. She comes to this retreat every year. She pats my hand reassuringly and waddles off. Geez, just call her wide load next time. Part 3, chapter 14. Inexplicably, Molly is ready to date again, but she also does more things for herself now, like she's a musician with another friend and they do open mics and she continues boxing. She goes on holiday with Stuart to Maine. Culture. I heard that if you collect a shell from the shore of Maine, you can still hear Stephen King blasting coke. I feel like I've never been to New England, but I feel like I know it already from reading like every Stephen King book ever. They go for a hike. It really is beautiful here, I say over my shoulder. How did you pick this trail? Kiwi came here last year. She and Evan take the kids hiking all the time. She says it's a good warm-up to do on a day one. My headache flares for a moment as I digest these details. I guess so, I say, forcing a laugh as well. Why does this information bother me so much? Maybe it makes me feel like a terrible mother. I'm raising my kids in a concrete jungle and I let them play video games for hours on end. On top of this, I'm angry at myself. How has my jealousy managed to barge in on this moment of union with nature's majesty? Nature's majesty. What happened to my fixed bucket? Please just split up. Did I ever tell you about the time Kiwi punched Evan in the face? He says, still laughing to himself. My body tenses, but I don't speak. God, guys, why did cereal used to taste so good when we were younger? It's really not the same. And I know that they took out most of the additives and a lot of the sugar, especially with Cocoa Pops. So I've got this theory that if you get like the own brand cereals of different places, not only are they a fraction of the price, like the Tesco Choco Rops, and usually a lot of these things are accidentally vegan as well. The Tesco version of Cocoa Pops, it's like 80p or something. Actual Cocoa Pops is like bordering on £4 now. Are you joking? You having a laugh? Why should I remortgage a flat just to be able to? I don't have a mortgage. Why should I skip rent just to be able to pay for eating cereal? I've got a theory that the own brand ones still have sugar in. So I've been testing out loads of different own brand ones to see what tastes good. But why does cereal taste so much better when we were younger? Is it just because it's got less sugar in? Because I can add sugar to it, but it's not the same. Cereal used to taste so good. Like Cheerios. Cheerios used to taste amazing and now they're just like, ugh, whatever. Anyway, someone punched someone in the face. My body tenses, but I don't speak. It was a few years ago, back when they first opened their marriage. Kiwi had a bunch of... I'm thinking about cereal because it's Saturday morning and I'm working. Look at me, rise and grind, literally. And I've not eaten yet and I'm hungry. Kiwi had a bunch of dates before Evan found anyone he liked. So he finally goes on a date with another woman, with Kiwi's full blessing. As soon as she gets back home, she punches him with a closed fist. She almost broke his nose. Okay, but why though? This doesn't really ever get answered, I think. I don't know why he's laughing about it. Domestic violence humor? Whatever. So Molly then gets mad at Stuart because he won't stop yapping about Kiwi. We talk about your anger all the time, Molly, he says. In fact, I can't remember the last time we had a conversation where you weren't angry or I wasn't worried that I'd make you angry. And the second I let my guard down, he cuts himself off and starts marching ahead of me up the trail. The leaves and twigs under his feet pop and snap like firecrackers. So that's it, I shout after him. We're done talking and you're just going to leave me alone in the woods? Yes, I'm done, he shouts, but he stops walking and leans against a tree trunk. When he speaks out again, he drops each word like a heavy burden. I think you want to be angry at me. Every conversation with you is a minefield. It's like you're waiting for me to step into some taboo topic, except I never know what's going to trigger the explosion. I'm exhausted, Molly. I can't do this anymore. So you want to close the marriage, I say, setting my next trap. You know that's not what I want, he says. Oh my God, just divorce. I silently celebrate this victory. And maybe it's what you want today, but admit it. If Carl was still in the picture, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And if you meet someone new tomorrow, we won't be having it then either. This guy. Ladies, please try to consider every option before you ask your husband to stop sleeping with younger women. You know what's ironic, he says. It seems like he's talking to himself, so I don't bother answering, but I look up from the mushroom. Kiwi thinks you're amazing. The story I just told you about how she punched Evan, she told me that when we were discussing you. I told her how you're taking a break from dating, but you're still letting me date, which is amazing. Molly, I don't take it for granted. Yeah, of course he fucking doesn't. Why would he take it for granted? having his cake and eating it. And Kiwi was saying how much she admires you for being able to do that, for giving me something that makes me happy, even though it's hard for you. And I do thank you for that. I really do. Wow, he's so manipulative, and she is not a martyr for letting him sleep with younger women. Why should Molly even give a shit about Kiwi's validation in the first place, though? She's never even met her. I did give Stu an ultimatum about couples counselling, but I've never demanded that we close the marriage. What? You've literally said it to him a few times that you want to close the marriage, and he just fobs you off and goes, nah, mate. I fantasized about it with Mitchell in therapy a few times, but I always came back to the same thing. I know Stuart is happier this way, and I know deep down that it's good for me too. Whether I'm dating other people or not, I'm learning to be responsible for my own happiness. Yeah, it is so good for you. In between the constant breakdowns, dramas, and migraines. This is literally Copium, the memoir. And how deep down do you know it's good for you? When you reach the 9th circle of hell? Of course, this makes Molly make up with Stuart weak. They do cards, not gifts for their anniversary. This year has been a mess, but there's nobody, and I mean nobody, in this whole world that I'd want to face all these things with more than you. You are my wife, my friend, my therapist, the angel/devil on my shoulder, my co-pilot, my pilot, my fashion advisor. But mostly you're my favourite person ever. It's just an added bonus that you grow more beautiful and sexy with each passing year. And you look amazing in yoga pants, worth mentioning twice. I love you. Every sexy, sweet, quirky, kissable inch of you. Stu. Of course you're his favourite person. You're foolish enough to condone his behaviour. Also, show, don't tell. We haven't seen you be his best friend or co-pilot or whatever at least once in this book. I guess it's a lot easier to write a cringy card than learn how to be a husband or a father, I guess. A lot easier, which is worth mentioning twice. XOXO. Oh no. So she gets a new OkCupid match and height 5'8". A little short, but my age. Do not let the manosphere hear this. This guy sends her 3 long messages before she responds. Again, knows how to pick them. Chapter 15. Anyway, she meets up with Scott, the new guy, the 5'8" short king, and he's immediately OTT, being all, you're so beautiful, I don't want to miss a second of you, you're such a rock star. What? Why? So she's all like, the hell, dude, you don't even know me. And he's like, you're right, I don't really know you. I want to know you, though. Oh, who is this guy? What a chump. He's standing in front of me now. He might have fudged his height, as men on the shorter side often do, but he's still an inch taller than I am. I've never dated someone so close to my height. You genuinely, Molly, need to shut the hell up before the Alpha Podcast Manosphere bros find out about this, or we will all never hear the end of how women only want men over 6 foot tall. Shut up. Women only want men over 6 foot tall. So that makes it okay for the manosphere to sexually assault women, apparently. Like, behave, be quiet. See that video that I did recently about the worst men on YouTube, about the podcast bros, for more info on this. But anyway, shut up. Audience, blokes who are maybe listening this far, most women don't care about height, dude. Don't let... Look, Molly can't even, fix her own fucking marriage, okay? Don't listen to her on, what's a good height for a bloke. All of his friends, Scott's friends that is, are under 30, which made me think, is he lying about his age too? But apparently not. Anyway, she realises Scott reminds her of a young Stuart. She reminisces about meeting Stuart after breaking up with her ex-boyfriend, William. Tall, athletic and intellectual, William was the man I thought I'd marry. He was Stuart's opposite. So Stuart's not an intellectual. That's hilarious. He's not an intellectual and yet you let him. So wait, Stuart's not an intellectual, right? Molly supposedly is a fucking genius by how much she tells us via other characters that she is. But even though Stuart's not an intellectual, she allows him to run rings around her and to let him talk her into doing the open marriage stuff. Maybe all of these people are stupid. Stuart was decidedly not my type. He fit every negative stereotype of a Long Island Jew. He was loud, brash, and wore pants with pleats. His jokes were either offensive or self-deprecating. I found him obnoxious. Then I was thinking, is Stuart just like a Harry from Sex and the City, but with zero charm? Would that make Molly Charlotte? Huh. Anyway, there's some crap, whatever. Good one, me. Scott and Molly go to karaoke and she sings to him and then he fondles her. And then they get interrupted by the attendant outside shouting, no sex allowed. Wow, what a sitcom. Anyway, Molly is going upstate for a conference and Scott wants to go with her. He's so enamored with her so quickly. It's like a fan fiction. I'm serious. I can take the train up after work on Thursday. I'll take a personal day Friday. I look at him, hesitating. I'm not allowed to have sleepovers. It's one of our rules. Uh-oh. I think about this kiss on the taxi ride home. It's not only Scott's mouth that fits with mine just so. It's how his hands cradle the back of my head, how our bodies press against each other, and something more. If a kiss were a dance, then Scott doesn't exactly lead, nor does he follow. Or maybe he leads and follows so expertly, I can't tell which is which. It's as though he anticipates by a fraction of a moment where my tongue will go, and he meets me there at a place that's so unexpected and inevitable all at once. I know I make fun of this stuff, but it is quite a lot better than Coho, innit? I mean, if this was written by Coho, it would have endless repetition to meet the word count. It would be like, it's the way his mouth fits with mine. It's the way his hands crown on my neck. It's the way our bodies press against each other. And then the book would have some stupid pun as a title. For so many years, I resented Stuart's dedication to his work. Stuart's vocation was my arch rival, competing with me for his attention. But now my heart swells with tenderness and appreciation for him, for who he is and what he does. A glimmer of an idea is forming alongside this feeling. Is it possible that my being happy with another man makes me love my husband more, not less? I can't explain how this works, but the evidence is collecting inside me. The flexibility necessary to engage in these mental gymnastics is staggering. They should really do the Olympics. When I asked Stuart how he'd feel about this plan, assuring him that it wouldn't be an actual overnight because Scott was staying at a different hotel, Stuart rolled his eyes. Seriously, Molly? Just let the poor guy sleep over. Really? You wouldn't mind? I mean, that rule is mostly for the kids' sake, right? If you're on a work trip and you already have my blessing to have sex, I don't think the sleeping part is such a big deal. I guess so. But then an image arose in my mind of Stuart waking up next to a slumbering Kiwi, her hair covering the face I've still never seen. A sharp pang of jealousy drove me to disagree. He 100% has already broken that rule and didn't tell Molly. How can I see this but she can't? She does her upstate conference that then she and Scott go to an open mic together. Chapter 16. Scott makes her a CD, which is then a Spotify playlist because no one uses CDs anymore. That is actually more than Stuart has done for her all book. I still like being called good girl, but now I need something else too. Don't worry, beautiful. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to have sex with you. She wants to be comforted and feel emotionally connected to someone. It's what she's been asking for all book, but instead she has a husband who likes to call her a see you next Tuesday during sex. Then he holds me and we do it again, often 5 or 6 times in one night. When Stuart and I are in bed together, he begs to hear the details of my sex with Scott, but it takes me a while to reveal Scott's impressive virility. He must be on Viagra, Stuart says dismissively. Yeah, probably, I say, but only to preserve Scott's ego. I don't think it's true. I prefer to believe that Scott's perpetual erection is about me, that his desire for me is insatiable, all-consuming. There is so much in this book that I've just not bothered mentioning most of it. The men finding her so irresistible, calling her beautiful and sexy, constantly going on about how hot she is. I don't know. I know we like to have, a bit of a joke and stuff, but I personally probably wouldn't write that way about myself via other people in a memoir unless I was messing around, because it is a bit much to constantly hear like how just breathtakingly amazing she is. It's a bit much. It's a bit odd. She keeps dating Scott, even breaking another rule by going to see a film, Get Out, with him. Which, we referenced Get Out earlier, so she really is in the sunken place. I like the way he drives. He backs out of the parking spot without using his mirrors and steers with his left hand, palming the wheel to make turns. What is with you Yanks and not driving properly? But Stuart is uninterested in the screen. I feel his gaze, and I turn to see him grinning at me. You are psyched about this movie, I whisper, laughing. I'm psyched to be here with you, he corrects me. I don't know. It's like we're really together. I understand what he means. Somehow sitting next to each other in this dark theatre feels more intimate than sex at the hotel. I should have texted Stuart, I think with a twinge of guilt. I push the thought away and hook my arm around Scott's, laying my head on his shoulder. Just enjoy this. You can deal with Stu later. Maybe he won't even care. God, just enjoy yourself. At least someone is taking you on dates and spending time with you. Forget about Stu. The amount of sugar it takes to make this pill of a marriage go down. My goodness. Mary Poppins is going to start singing about it in a minute. Anyway, Scott is falling in love with her. Maybe. It could just be that his own day-to-day life is shit. He's got like a wife and kids. Who knows? Then there's more Stuart drama. He is literally not worth it. Molly, you're the arsehole for staying with him. So Stuart went on a date with an actress called Cara, and I did, he answered with a sigh, but I made the mistake of telling Kiwi where I was going. And let me guess, she got jealous. I know about this dramatic thread between the two of them. Kiwi has reached the point of accepting her husband's other relationships, and she is on board with my primacy as Stuart's wife. But the fact that Stuart continues to date other women is a thorn in her side. I understand her feeling this way, and I've told Stuart as much. If Scott wanted to date other women, it would probably bother me too. I like being the new and shiny one. But at the same time, I'm relieved that Stuart isn't capitulating to Kiwi's jealousy. After all, he never capitulated to mine. For him, having a variety of... After all, he never capitulated to my... Probably should have. You're his wife. For him, having a variety of partners is the whole reason for open marriage. Bingo, he says. She says she wants to know if I'm out with someone else, but when I tell her the truth, she freaks out. Women, I say, shaking my head in mock disgust. Stuart laughs out loud. Few things are more satisfying than making my husband laugh. This is literally an episode of EastEnders. She tells Stuart about the movie date and they don't fight over it. Boring. Scott's wife Diana wants to meet her, so they do. She's nice, she's a yapper, she's pretty, they take selfies, whatever. Back home, she tells Stuart and then broaches the idea of her going on a fishing trip for a few days with Scott. And Stuart is all, yeah, cool, Kiwi wants to go on a trip with me too. And then Molly gets jealous and good Lord, are they not exhausted yet? It's been like this for 10 years. I feel like I'm aging with them. But even if I don't want to go to Vegas, I don't want Kiwi going instead. When were you planning on mentioning this to me? My words feel hot as they leave my mouth. I wasn't going to mention it at all, he says. His tone is that of a parent explaining the art of taking turns to a cranky toddler. This fans the flames of my anger. How dare he behave as if I'm overreacting? I told her you and I don't allow overnights yet, and I wanted to wait until you were comfortable with the idea. Now you're saying you want to take a fishing trip with Scott, so silly me. I assumed you were ready. He throws up his hands and a glob of toothpaste hits the mirror. But now I see it's a one-way street, and if I even talk about going away with Kiwi, I'm some kind of insensitive monster. Cry about it. What a narc. This is how narcissists react. So dramatic. It's the same conflict as always, I suppose. Myself versus my bucket. Chapter 17. Scott and Stuart meet. It's very uneventful. Stuart hugs me tightly and kisses me on the forehead. Have fun, baby, he says. I love you. A lump has formed in my throat. I feel loved. Stu has given me a precious gift, and I'm giving it back to him. Freedom and security are woven together in this ordinary, audacious moment. I have the craziest thought. Imagine, if you two took more trips together. Molly and Scott go on their trip while Stuart and Kiwi go on a non-Vegas trip, except they don't. I'm refilling our plastic cups when I notice my phone buzzing on the end table. It's lit up with a seamless notification. Your order from Kiku Sushi will arrive between 8:50 and 9 p.m. I stare at the message, trying to make sense of it. It must be a mistake. The kids are at camp. Who could be ordering sushi for delivery? And then I realise Stuart is home with Kiwi. Piece of shit, piece of shit, piece of shit, she calls Stuart. What are you doing at the house? I ask. And then before waiting for an answer, you brought her to our home? Stuart is silent for a beat. Whoa, he finally says. He lowers his voice and I know he's shielding her from my rage. You told me I could bring her over. Remember? Like hell I did, I shout. I want to make sure Kiwi can hear me on the other end of the line. Where are they right now, I wonder? The living room? The guest room? Our bed? No, Stuart wouldn't dare. Yet he would. My question is answered by the sound of Stuart's feet on tile, the bang of a screen door. He's left Kiwi in the kitchen and has gone to the back porch so she can't hear our argument. Instead, that the neighbours will get front row seats. And I quote, he says, his own voice rising now. You didn't have to get a room, you said. It's silly, you said. So I called the hotel and they let me cancel. The self-righteous ground is crumbling beneath me and my legs go weak. I plop down cross-legged on the grass, welcoming the sharp blaze that reached into my shorts and scraped my upper thighs. I just said that to be nice, I exclaim. I didn't mean it. You should have known I don't want her at our house. Nah, he's malicious. He knows damn well she wouldn't actually be okay with it. And also, she said it as like a flippant remark. You shouldn't make a decision based upon a flippant remark in this, because we're told so much that open marriages and open relationships require constant communication, a deep quality of communication. Her offhandedly being like, oh no, don't be silly, basically mirroring what he said, in the previous chapter about the hotel thing. He shouldn't then make a decision on that, and he knows better than this because he's cunning. She tells him to get out the house and hangs up. She tells Scott about it. They both suck, to be honest. I feel a pang of shame for painting Stuart in a negative light. Bro, you need to read your reviews for this book on Goodreads and Reddit, because if you weren't trying to make Stuart look bad this whole book, you have failed miserably. Scott tells Molly that Diana took their kids to meet Rick, her boyfriend, and she asked him for a divorce. Later on, she texts Stuart. Hi, baby. I doubt you're still awake, but I need to write you anyway. I'm sorry for freaking out before. It wasn't fair of me to give you mixed messages and then expect you to know how I felt. I hit send. I mean, they've been together for like years. He should know her by now. The appearance of three dots surprised me, and I gripped the phone with both hands, waiting to see Stuart's reply. I'm the one who should be sorry. It was stupid of me to think that an offhanded remark was permission to have Kiwi at our house. You were right to be upset. Molly, you are so weak. Does divorce scare you? Why? Get over it. Are you waiting for a man to tell you it's okay to get a divorce? Ask your therapist for permission. Anyway, after this trip, Stuart goes on another trip with Kiwi. I've had enough. I've had a good couple of days. On Friday, I had drinks with Jessie. On Saturday, I boxed. Then Susan came over and we cooked dinner for the kids, drank wine, played guitar. Today, I took the boys back to school shopping. We ordered pizza and watched the movie. In brief snatches, I'd remember Stuart is with Kiwi now, but I haven't dwelt on it. Instead, I focused on my own life, on the moment I'm living rather than the one I'm not. I feel proud of how well I've done. Guys, we are nearing the end of this book, and she is so clearly not okay with this being an open marriage. All this stuff she said, all the things she's doing for herself, you can do this and not be forced into an open marriage by your nasty husband. Unreal. Also, I feel proud of how well I've done. You shouldn't. Stuart comes home and tells Molly about his trip. Their weekend was very domestic, he tells me. Kiwi had her period and everything in the Airbnb was white, making sex more cautious than passionate. Then Stuart spilled guacamole on the couch and they had to spend 40 minutes trying to get the spot out. He describes these events as negatives, but this type of at-home and in-it-together scenario is what I've always craved from him. I've come to think of domestic tasks as something I do separately from my husband, something that Stuart avoids at all costs. By the time Stuart gets to the part about making dinner with Kiwi, that he peeled potatoes, I'm in tears. He stops talking. Why are you crying? He asked, genuinely dumbfounded. It's the damn potatoes. Seriously, what part of Stuart does Molly actually get as her husband beyond the sex where he degrades her and she's not into it, and beyond him being some sort of multi-millionaire? This is literally the saddest marriage I've ever read about, and I've read Wuthering Heights. As if reading my mind, Stuart says, to be honest, Kiwi has helped me understand a lot of things about our marriage, like why you've been angry with me. I know I get defensive about it, but you're right that I don't help around the house enough. He reaches for my hand, and I'm sorry for that. I'll try to do better. It took him shagging dozens of other women to realise he needs to do laundry once in a while. Men ain't shit. Also, try to do better, you wet wipe, you musty sock, you tawdry linen hamper. By the way, these two had the audacity to go around doing newspaper and TV interviews claiming polyamory makes people feel threatened. Their relationship threatens people. It really doesn't. There is nothing about your relationship that I would want for myself. Imagine being with a man who doesn't know to peel potatoes or do the laundry or even parent kids. Cannot relate. That night, Stuart and I lie in our bed, hands still clasped, talking in the dark. For perhaps the first time ever, we talk freely and openly about love. How, despite the inevitable challenges, he loves Kiwi and I love Scott. How love morphs and evolves and differs from one situation to the next. How our love for other people only seems to make us love each other more. No falling in love is such an unrealistic rule, I say. Was it love when he was being a deadbeat husband and you were crying on the floor full of migraines? Also, for perhaps the first time ever, we talk freely and openly. Your marriage is unmitigated garbage. Your husband gave a cucumber stain more attention than he's given you in the last decade. Maybe we only need one rule, I say, turning onto my side to face him. Let's just promise to be honest with each other and then help the other person process whatever emotions come up. Molly, you know there's a secret option C, yeah? That you can be with someone whose actions don't make you feel like complete shit. I might even let you call me see you next Tuesday during sex, I whisper. He laughs. Not necessary. I can get that kink elsewhere. Does Kiwi like it? I ask. Are you sure you want to know? I stop and consider my answer. I don't want a lengthy description, but yeah, I do. Okay, he says. Sometimes. Cool, I say, and I mean it. I'm happy that Stuart's getting his needs met and that I don't need to change my boundaries for him. Is this how compersion begins? Yeah, calling someone to see you next Tuesday during sex isn't a need, babe. It's not food, water, or oxygen, is it? Think he would have been okay going without it if it could have saved you literally years of migraines and distress. Weak. These people are weak. No, this woman's weak. So, no, am I victim blaming? I don't know. I can't respect any of this. Chapter 18. Molly's mother is in the hospital due to a twisted bowel, so Molly flies out and looks after her, then snoops for her stuff at home and reads through her old letters with Jim and Buddha, who had a wife and was cheating with Mary the whole time. Because Mary was in a one-sided open marriage, Molly really tries to frame this parallel as though it's like a familial tradition, but in fact, Jim and Buddha both still email Mary. That's more than Molly can say for any of the other blokes she's been with in this book. How sad for her. Chapter 19. Her mother continues to suffer various illnesses. Scott wants her to leave Stuart, don't we all? Scott wants her to meet his son, but she won't, so she hugs a pillow in therapy that represents herself and has a cry. Wow. How can I get some of this for myself? Teach me your secrets, you snake oil peddling charlatan. Chapter 20. Scott gets a divorce. Scott's divorce goes through breakneck speed. He decides not to seek legal counsel and contests nothing. Diana will be moving his son to California. On the other end of his phone calls, I hold my tongue. His passivity baffles me, but I restrain myself from offering to hire a lawyer on his behalf. Blokes will go on about courts favouring women and single mothers and then pull shit like this. He literally doesn't care about his kid. Probably some part of his brain thinks, well, I'll just make a new kid with a new family now. Disgraceful. She books a hotel for them for Valentine's Day, and then they get to the hotel, and then he dumps her in the lobby because she won't leave Stuart. Happy Valentine's Day to you too, buddy. This is like an indie movie where the lesson is utterly pathetic. Sometimes love is letting people walk all over you, and you just struggling to get by day to day. And isn't that enough in this crazy thing we call life? No. Oh, Scott met someone else because he wants monogamy. Whoops. I throw myself face down on the bed, waiting for the sobs to come. But instead, something else rises to the surface. It's my mother's voice. Oh, sweetheart, there will be more. My chest is pulled in a familiar ache. It feels both good and bad. It's like the pain felt the day after a hard workout. A physical reminder that something has changed in the muscle of the heart. A sweet burn that lingers. There will be more. I thought my mother had meant there would be more men, more boyfriends, more exciting trysts to help me escape the realities of marriage and motherhood. But what she really meant is this. There will be more love. She's now plummeting into Coho-esque platitudes because love is vast, abundant, infinite in fact. And the secret is this. Love begets love. The more you love, the more love you have to give. Fuck me, she's doing the Coho repetition now. If you're trying to convince me, you've not done a good job for almost 300 pages. Also, have you tried this experiment with your bad husband? Because it doesn't seem like it. So she rings up Stuart to tell him about the breakup and he comforts her. The end. If anything, I hope her mum is okay now because she had various illnesses throughout this book. So I hope she's all right. To Stuart, who did not flinch when I first spoke of my idea to write this book and who has stood by me every step of the way. Thank you for being my person. I love loving you. Well, why would he flinch? He's such a narcissist. I am still baffled as to why these two are married or what qualities they admire or love in one another. I guess it actually is more like a Coho book than I thought then. What an absolute shit show this book was. It cured my depression because at least I'm neither of these people. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is a helpful representation of polyamory in mainstream media? You should see some of the mainstream reviews about it. Not to sound like conspiracy theorist, but you should see some of the mainstream reviews about this book because it's like, oh my god, it's candid, it's bitingly honest, it's so witty, and it's such a beautiful memoir and such a lovely... The reviews gas it up so much, but then you read it, it's like, dude, this husband is just a real piece of work. That's the most sanitized thing I can say about him right now. Anyway, that's all for the end. Wait, what? The end? The end. Goodbye, everyone. That's all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. Do you think it was sad? Do you think, like, her husband is awful? Am I wrong? I'm never wrong. Remember to like and subscribe. I make new videos whenever I feel like it. Follow me on TikTok and Instagram and on Goodreads. Make sure that you check out my own book, The Prime Minister's Porky Mistress, in light of the recent news and development that Peppa Pig's mum is pregnant. So yeah, check out my book. And I will see you all next time in the next video. Goodbye.